Here we go. We got a great show for you guys tonight. Thursday night. Looking forward to tonight's show, man. We have an outstanding panel ready for you guys. We got great topics. Getting done with the Xbox Showcase, the Ubisoft show, Summer Game Fest. Kind of got a great mix of some of your favorite podcasters on the show tonight. Some of your big Twitter personalities that I absolutely love to follow. Guys, before we get started, I want to take a second to say shout out to everybody in the chat. Please take a second to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Your name comes up in lights. It's nothing better than that. Shout out to your boy Roy. He says, Showcase season. The super chat is working. It's a miracle. Thank you for that super chat, your boy Roy. And you'll be hearing from him as well in a little bit. And Ocelot's here. He says, hit that like button. I appreciate it, guys. The super chats are always very, very welcome. I also want to give a quick shout out to the great Mash. Mash stopped by and hit us with 20 gifted membership subs on Sunday, as well as the great Detective Seeds, who hopefully can try and join us tonight. He's having some microphone problems with Discord. He's writing me right now saying he's going to restart his computer and be back. But Seeds also gifted 20 memberships to the channel, guys. We are at almost 200 members on the channel. I can't say thank you guys enough. That means the world to me. Here comes Seeds again. We'll see when we get to the intros. We'll see if it's actually working. But I have almost 200 members, and like I said, reading all of those would take about 10 minutes. But all of you are in the description. And speaking of a great description, guys, take a look at that description right there. It gives you a synopsis of what we're going to talk about tonight. Just a little idea. We may go off the rails a little bit. I only wrote, usually I give these guys 10, 11, 12, 13 topics. I did 7. And then they gave me an extra one. We got 8 topics tonight. I still think we might only hit 5 of them. That's just the way I'm feeling. That being said, we're going to do 2 things right now. We're going to get right into the intros, and we're also going to do a sound test with the great Detective Seeds. Let's see if Seeds can actually... Seeds!
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, and man, is it perfect timing.
The amount of F-bombs that I was dropping when Discord kept crashing would have filled up my quota for the entire year.
Buddy, listen, I'm glad you were off the air for that. I want to say that first and foremost. Thank you very much. But yes. Seeds, great to have you back on the show, buddy. How you doing tonight?
Good, man. Good to be back. Finished up my 3rd week treatment. Got 2 more.
Yes.
So
let's go.
Feeling pretty good. And appreciate your support, man, and friendship. Means a lot. So
Seeds,
thanks for having me on.
You're inspiration, buddy. You decided to let everybody know online what you're going through. You show your strength. You showed what you're going through, so you're actually the hero here tonight, buddy. So I want to say thank you to you for showing never give up, buddy. Never give up, and you are fighting, and you're doing a hell of a job. You know you always have my support anytime you need it. So, Seeds, great to have you here with us tonight. Appreciate it. Always, buddy, always. Speaking of great to have here, too, sometimes we just need a voice. That's the voice of reason. And when that happens, we have to hit our neighbor down in Florida, which I actually think Eric belongs in New York. I don't know what he's really doing down there. I know he likes the weather. That's fine. We shovel once in a while. But the great Eric Jackson is back with us again tonight. Eric, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, man. I actually hate the weather in Florida. Even though I'm a native Floridian, I've always hated the weather here. It's too humid. It's too hot. I've always liked further up, East Coast. Like the nice cool. You guys have fall, man. Like your leaves change.
Yes.
Like that. You get like Tony Soprano said. You smell like the fireplace is going in the cool air, and
there's nothing
it's like Halloween the whole 9. You don't get here. It's just green all the time.
And listen. So the grass is always greener on the other side, right, Eric? But I will say, each season here does have a smell. Like, there's no joke, right? So fall has that spice, that, it's Oktoberfest beer. There's definitely fires cooking outside. You can smell it smoke. And it just feels like you can smell Halloween's on the way the minute fall gets here. It's a New York thing. I'll let Persona get more into it. Speaking of the great Persona, okay, he's here. He's also from New York. Great to have another New York brother with me here tonight. I need that support. I need that energy. And he's here tonight. And I can't wait. I got to tell you, I'm always excited when Persona comes on the show. I really, really am. But tonight, if it's even possible, a little bit more, because I got a lot of questions for him. And I can't speak for the great Jay Barry. By the way, shout out to the great Jay Barry. You guys know from What's Up PlayStation, Saturday mornings, 11 a.m. Eastern. That's how I start my Saturdays. It's how you should start yours. Persona, how the hell you doing today, buddy?
Hey, yo, Mooch, what's going on, man? What's going on with you? Shout out to everybody here. Shout out to the chat. I'm Persona, man, and it feels good. It feels good to be here, Mooch.
Yes.
You understand? Listen, New York in the building.
Please.
You understand? I'm going to hold you down. You know how we are with New Yorkers, man. You know how we are.
I need
you feel me?
Because I might be...
Hey, you guys lost to the Pacers.
Get out of here. Get out of here with
that. Too soon.
Too soon is right.
And shout out to your chat. Shout out to the chat. Make sure you guys hit the like button. And Mooch, I say it all the time. In the early days of coming on this show,
yes,
the chat, they were like, Mooch, if you bring this guy back, I'm unsubscribing. They don't do that anymore, Mooch.
No, they've
embraced me. I dare say the chat loves me. I love you, chat, as well. But listen, I'm happy to be here. Can't wait to talk about the topics. I know it's going to be a spicy show, and I'm happy to be here with the panel as well, man. Shout out to this is a great panel. And man, thanks for having me.
Of course, Persona. And honestly, listen, what's great too? I think, Persona well versed on his channel. I think I'm well versed on this channel. We'll see what the chat thinks about me, Persona. I might be getting a couple. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
Mooch, you got some fans that be definitely clipping your show, boy.
Oh yeah, they do.
Oh man, you made it, Mooch.
You got some fans, boy. It is crazy.
I'll tell you. Hey, listen, I made it. Listen, I got to tell you, real quick, speaking of making it big, the great Nib is with us tonight. You guys know. Speaking of large and in charge, I think that's the Nib. Have you thanked Elon Musk yourself personally for the extended characters?
I didn't know what you were talking about for a second.
Hey, this is a PG-13 show, Nib. Let's not go there, please. It's family friendly. Yes, absolutely.
I was talking about the consoles. I don't know where you were going with that.
Where were we going? Nib, great to have you on tonight, buddy. How are you? And let me ask you this question real quick, because we do have the great Death Singer on, and we'll get to Death Singer in a second. But Nib, where are you? Are you in England, Wales, or is there another part of England we're unaware of?
I'm in England, southwest. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because the great Death Singer made sure that he gave me a geography lesson last week, and I needed it. So that's just the way it is. Nib, great to have you with us tonight.
Thank you.
It's going to be an outstanding show. Speaking of that, our outstanding podcaster from Wales himself, the great Death Singer, is with us. Singer, I do appreciate you saying, Mooch, you can't say everybody's from Great Britain. That's just not fair, and it's not correct. So, Singer, I appreciate you being back on the show again and schooling me.
I'm glad he's on, because, I think a lot of Americans that I've met, they have this perception that British always sound a certain way because it's what's in Hollywood and what.
Right.
This is the diversity that we have in accents.
Well, Singer, let me know where I was right and wrong there. But to be honest with you, it's great to have you back on the show. We're going to be talking about the showcases. I know you have a lot to say, but Singer, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. And it's okay to say everyone's from Britain. It's just when you say everyone's from England, you're missing 3 countries.
That's the problem. That's the problem.
The UK is just England.
If it makes people over in the UK feel better, okay. A lot of people say, "Oh, Mooch, where are you from? Boston, Pennsylvania? One of those northern states? New York, baby." Persona, you know what I'm talking about. They get confused, and that's okay. That's fine.
Yeah, for real, man.
Right? It happens.
They do. Because how we say water.
Water.
New Yorkers, we say water. We say water.
Right. And they say they don't understand coffee's coffee and talk is talk, and that's just the way it is.
Exactly.
All right?
Exactly.
That's the way we are. That's the way we were born. But Singer, great to have you here, buddy, tonight. And like I say, you correct me as much as you need to. That's fine.
It's a nice standing panel. Great show. I just thought, I might plug on to this because it's a really interesting topics, and I also have to big a shout out to Aloy. She finally has a personality.
Well, that's how nice of you.
I am grateful. I am grateful because she finally grew one. So shout out to this gorilla.
Singer with an early jab. Oh, the great Death Singer. He does not let us down. Shout out to the great Donnell Brown. He says, if you keep bringing that pony on, I'm going to unsub. There's the great Donnell Brown, everybody. So shout out to Donnell. Great to have him here with us. BRAP, I'm getting a little feedback from you there, BRAP. I think maybe you've got me. You've got Crossfire on live on all your TVs in your home. I'm not sure. There we go. That sounds better. I appreciate it, BRAP. Thank you. Speaking of that, that's Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. Just so you guys know, when BRAP says he's late, he's right on time. BRAP, how you doing tonight, buddy?
That's funny, man. Doing well. It's hot. It's hot outside.
It is warm.
So
it's warm.
Practice got cut short a little bit because it's really, really hot. So glad to be here, Mooch.
Absolutely, buddy, and a great night to be here too. I'll tell a little behind the scenes story in a second here, but we got the great your boy Roy here. Your boy Roy has been a Mooch Maniac for quite some time, following me for years on the channel. He's been on the show before, and he says, he goes, Mooch, if you got a time slot open for me after the showcases, I really want to come on and speak my piece. I said, Roy, there's no better time than this week right here. So Roy, welcome back to the show, buddy. How you doing tonight?
Dude, I'm doing great. It's always an honor to be on the show. The gaming buzz has filled the air because of the showcases.
That's right.
And it's like, I need to get on the podcast again and talk it up with the boys.
Well, buddy, you're on the right show tonight. I'll tell you that much. And speaking of the boys, you got the great Kofi here. Kofi, it was a close. It's like a horse race. Kofi, last minute, he sends me the thumbs up. Says, Mooch, I'll see you at 7:00. Kofi, that's just our relationship. That's the way it is. It's always right before the bell. I love it though, buddy. I love it. Crossfire is about keeping me on my toes. So, Kofi, how you doing tonight, buddy? Great to have you here. I'm glad you can make it.
I'm glad that my people talk to your people, and
That's right.
It all worked out. No, I'm really always happy to be here, man. I'm glad we have a moment to reflect on a pretty big showing. I definitely have some interesting takes. So, yeah, excited. And what an all-star cast here. I'm looking at the list of people in the chat on Discord. It's a healthy list.
It's a healthy list.
This is going to be great.
No, this is what and it was funny because a little behind the scenes, Nib was writing me early. He goes, Mooch, you have a lot of people on the show. I said, that's kind of how we do. I've always had between 7 and 10 people on Crossfire. So for me, this is normal, but I can understand a lot of podcasts don't do this. And I'm not saying, I love having everyone's difference of opinion on here. I want to hear what everybody's got to say. So, Nib, I'll put you on the hot seat first and foremost. And the reason I'm putting you on there, I had a different order of questions, but I'm going to go ahead and say this because I want to go to the overall opinions and impressions. Let's start with the showcases, and we'll start with the Xbox showcase first, if you don't mind. If you want to divulge into the Summer Game Fest and you want to get into Ubisoft, please do. But let's start with Xbox because really, if we do start with the Xbox showcase, it really does kind of evolve into some of the other topics that became what they were moments after that showcase ended. So, Nib, what did you think of the showcases overall, primarily the Xbox One? And you can feel free. You see the topics I sent you. You can even divulge into some of those if you want to, as you kind of explain your opinion on it.
I'll give like a brief overview, but Summer Game Fest one I thought was pretty dead. In fact, I actually tuned out. I don't know what I was doing. Maybe I was eating or having a coffee or something, but I just kind of tuned out. I think it was way too long for how much actual game content they showed. I can't even really remember what they were filling the gaps with. But not the greatest show. The state of play, I had very low expectations because it's a state of play. So I enjoyed it. It was better than I expected. I was thinking it'll barely announce anything and it will basically be a footnote. But it was decent, and a few of the games look really good. And I was surprised to see Lego and surprised to see it announced for Switch. And then the Xbox showcase, I loved it. I just thought just a crap ton of a lot of content. The cadence of content, it's just non-stop. I think it was like 30 games or something. A lot of the titles that they revealed, I really liked the look of. There was some surprises, or even if they're not exclusive, it's still, they still look impressive. Especially like I think it's called, is it Immortals 33 or something like that? One of those games. And then obviously Fable looked fantastic. And just overall the show was good. The only thing I would say, and this didn't knock my score, like I gave the Xbox show a 9 out of 10. But I will say a lot of the games, well, several of the games that they did show were kind of carry-ons from announcements ages ago. Mm-hmm. So State of Decay 3, Perfect Dark, Fable, Avowed, and I think Stalker 2, they were announced like 4+ years ago.
It was a while ago.
I think most of them.
Yes.
Yeah, I think most of them were announced in 2020. Stalker 2 before that. But the point is, so it is finally good that these are back on track. But as much as I really enjoyed seeing them and seeing the updates and everything, and just the games look good all round, I will say in future, I hope we don't have this like announce and then reveal something 50 years later when you're in a Zimmer frame type of time frame. I hope in future they keep it tighter. But yeah, overall it was a really good show, and yeah, I think a lot of the Xbox fans have a lot to be happy about. It certainly looks like the next 2 years are going to be, it's going to have a decent lineup of games, provided nothing is delayed, etc., etc.
Absolutely. And I think we've all, as gamers, I remember back when we used to really hold a lot of these companies and developers accountable for delays. Nowadays, we kind of understand, we're able to see a little bit more of the troubles and tribulations these folks go through. So we are a little bit more lenient on that. I do want to say, I want to go to the great Persona here. Persona, one of the things I was saying to Death Singer before the show started is I said, I thought Xbox really did have a great showcase. Persona, I also, and I won't speak for you, I know that you just said that it was a very good showcase. I'll let you speak and give the rating out loud. But one of the things that kind of started to feel like as I was enjoying the Xbox showcase very much, I might say, is that, knowing what we know now and what happened with the interview afterwards with IGN, it just does the Xbox showcase still hold that strength, knowing that we don't know which games necessarily, but that their games are going to be going to other platforms? Does that change the excitement for you when it comes to watching the Xbox showcase, where if you go back 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 10 years ago, when you watched it, you knew that you were like, wow, if that's a good game on Xbox, I've got to go out and I've got to go buy an Xbox console to play that. Nowadays, that's not necessarily the case. Does that change anything for you? Do you look at this more of like an Ubisoft or an EA conference? Or no, you're like, no, Xbox is putting out amazing games. And the shout out to Death Singer after Persona, he's going to get a great chance to rebuttal. But Persona, what did you think about the showcase and kind of, the situation at hand now when it comes to Xbox and where their games are going to be?
Yeah, so first off, Mooch, you think you slick. Huh? You asked me the spicy questions because I'm good. I'm good at playing a villain. Yes. And that's fine. I love playing the villain. You understand? If I could choose to be any villain, I'd be the Joker. Yes. So it's good. Anyway, or Darkseid, or one of those villains. Okay. Let's start with the question of the announcement after the showcase, right? Mm-hmm. I do think that it probably did take a little bit of steam out of the power of the announcements, because it's like, and this has kind of been the issue with Xbox since the start of this generation, right? You see certain games, especially this year, they have those 4 games that were coming to PlayStation. Mm-hmm. There's always been this question, especially once they bought Bethesda. That's his which I think was in 2019. There has been this looming conversation within the community and within podcasts and things like that of, Bethesda used to be a third-party publisher and now they're under Microsoft. What's exclusive and what's not?
That's right.
And even with what Microsoft has said, or Phil Spencer has said, what he has said and what the actions have been have never lined up since the acquisition of Bethesda. And so when you fast forward to now with the acquisition of Activision, say that 5 times fast, it's even more of a conversation because of even the sheer magnitude of this publisher, the amount of money that's coming in, and the importance of PlayStation to this publisher, given one of its biggest titles having its largest fan base on a competing platform. Mm-hmm. You couple that with a lot of their games not really selling, Game Pass cannibalizing a lot of the sales of the games, and these are things that I've said before that Microsoft, I think at this point in time, is in the business of wanting to make money as opposed to having something just exclusive, right? They want to be in all gaming markets, mobile, PC, and console, and they want to be the dominant in those respective spaces. And within the console space, because they've been number 3 for 2 generations now, the best way that they can do that is not by competing against PlayStation and Nintendo, but using those fan bases to grow their revenue in a market where they are the weakest, which is the console space. So in the event of that, these conversations of, what's going to stay, what's going to go, is just going to keep happening, right? But despite all of that, I do think that the Xbox showcase was absolutely phenomenal. I think it was I gave it a 9 out of 10. I thoroughly enjoyed that showcase. Yes. They showed a lot of great games, both first party and third party. There were some surprises there, right? With Expedition 33, which is that turn-based Persona inspired RPG coming from the French studio. South of Midnight, that gameplay definitely wowed me, and that's on top of my list. Gears E-Day, a nice surprise at the end. I enjoyed that very much. So Perfect Dark I thought looked really, really good. Like, it really, really surprised me.
Yes.
And that's another one on my list. Fable looks great. Like, they had a lot of things there. Although a lot of these games, I do agree with Nib, a lot of these games were kind of shown before. I'm glad that we're kind of seeing these in a different light, and we actually have some release windows, and we can kind of really speak to, well, this is what the next 1 or 2 years looks like for Microsoft. Something that I wish PlayStation would do, right?
Yeah,
so I have to give Microsoft kudos for that. And when it comes to the Summer Game Fest, it was terrible. Like, it was a waste of time.
Yeah.
Especially for it to be 2 hours. It was absolutely terrible. And Ubisoft Forward, I love that showcase. I thought Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows were great showings. Very excited for both of those games. And Prince of Persia Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake getting reconfirmed for a 2026 release date. I'm a big Prince of Persia fan, so I'm happy for that as well. And yeah, what's it?
No, that's a really good synopsis of the entire spectrum of what we witnessed starting at the end of last week and over the weekend. I think you kind of said it best, honestly, and I did give you the spicy question for so you knew that was coming your way, so there was no hiding that at all. Eric, we only have you till about 8:00 Eastern time, so I really do want to get your take on this. You've been pretty involved throughout the course of the past 4 or 5 days on Twitter, going back and forth with many of folks, especially with the outcome for a lot of these games and where they're going to end up. What did you think of the showcase? Again, predominantly I'm talking about the Xbox showcase. And listen, the one thing I don't do on this show is I actually do give Jeff Keighley his flowers in a sense, because he's apparently picked up where E3 left off. The awards show he does at the end of the year. Listen, whether you like them, you don't, we all tune in to them. I mean, he keeps breaking records every single awards show that he puts on. It keeps getting a bigger and bigger audience. So I do agree with Persona. I don't think this Summer Game Fest lived up to what the others have done in the past, but he did say that. So I'm predominantly looking, Eric, more at the Xbox showcase. What did you think of the Xbox showcase? And what did you think of, I kind of want to get into a bit of that interview that Phil, and I will allow me to read this super chat real quick, Spidal he says, shout out to Slimy Phil and his slimy projection practices. So, there's a lot that went on with that show. First of all, mentioning that more games will be going to other platforms. And then he said, he doesn't want to be that slimy platform that makes you buy a console when, technically they did. But, it is what it is. What do you think, Eric?
About the showcase first, I'm kind of in line with both Nib and Persona. I thought it was a really good showcase. You come out of that, wherever these games land in the end, I mean, we'll find that out as time goes on, obviously. But if you have the means to play them wherever, then there's a lot there to want to be excited about playing. If you're a gamer, if you're a Twitter player, you got enough to talk about forever. We'll ignore that, but as a gamer, there was a lot there to be excited about. They were definitely, I would say, they were in the bag as far as showing, what this portfolio is starting to unfold, and it's sort of like what Nib said, it's finally paying the dividends where we're seeing, okay, this is what so-and-so is working on, this is what so-and-so is working on, we're starting to see it. Pretty much, yeah, most of the games, South of Midnight was definitely like my game of the show. That just has like the vibe, when they acquire Compulsion, I always kind of felt about them. I've never been deep into their games. I've kind of dabbled with them. And I said, there's always something there, but it's like they never really had like the extra to kind of put them over, right? So when they were acquired, I said, that kind of feels like my Dark Horse studio, like a lot of talent, a lot of potential. Let's see what they do. And then when they started, even before we knew the name of South of Midnight, they were talking about what their ideas were and playing around with what they call like Southern mythology. And I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. What is that going to be? And so now to kind of see that, I'm like, perfect. I love that setting. We don't see a lot of games that kind of play with that. That's really cool. And then, the choice of like aesthetic, the style of it looks really cool too. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yes.
But the biggest thing you can take away from their showcase was variety. There's a lot of variety in there. So if you're a person that's looking at that and you're like, yo, it's mid out here, it's dry out here, I really don't know what to tell you.
Right.
So on that front, I got to give them props, and I know a lot of people, that's like pulling teeth because, they have to defend their platform. They feel they have to anyway. But as a gamer, you can give props where props are due. And you can definitely criticize where, criticism needs to be like levied. And like Persona said, as a Sony fan, you're kind of sitting there like, yo, this is kind of what you guys used to pop off and do. And lately, that vibe doesn't feel like it's there. Everyone's all focused on Lego Horizon and Aloy. Like she's like, the talk of the week, and I'm like, that's all we have to talk about right now. Really? That's something.
Yeah, they showed a lot actually. They showed a bunch of games, and that's the topic. And of course, we are going to talk about it tonight, Eric. So that was great. But Eric, what do you think? When I did ask Persona Spicy Nib, I'll give you the mic and say, I just want to say, Eric, do you think that? What did you think when you saw those games? Are those games that you're going to pick up on Xbox? Or are you going to pick them up on PC? Or are you going to wait for PS5?
I'll tell you this: as these dates get released, because obviously when we get dates, they'll be talking more about. We'll probably start learning more about where they're going to land. Because hey, Uncle Phil, he's out there talking. So I mean, he said he has to run a sustainable business, so he can't leave people in the shadows about as a publisher where these games are going to go. I will tell you honestly, if it's sort of like a year out, and we get like a South of Midnight, it's going to drop on Xbox, but it's going to be a year out on PS5.
Mm-hmm.
I'll play it on Xbox.
That's
and
right.
If it's popping like that, then I'll definitely be picking it up on PS5 to platinum it. That's just how that'll be the vibe. That'll just be what it is. But if I find it's coming to I prefer to play my games on PlayStation. If I find it's coming sooner than that, then that's probably where I'll play it. Because Persona probably agree with me that platinum must be had.
That's right.
Oh yeah, so, I have a next generation Xbox. The Xbox is called PC, so I'll be able to play that where I'll play it there. If it doesn't come to PlayStation, because I'm not in the business of waiting to play games. I own all these platforms for a reason. Exactly. So I'm just gonna play the games where they are.
That's right. And Persona, I'm kind of glad you said. Nib, I want to let you speak, and then I want to hear, because actually Persona just set up a great point that singer was saying before the show. But Nib, go ahead. I want to hear what you have to say.
Oh no, I was just going to make a quick point, which is that, funnily enough, about Lego Horizon Adventures, I think it's called. There's a company called Fan Census which does analytics from shows and things like that, and they did the analytics over a 24-hour period for all the game shows, and by far the game that had the most coverage, exposure, and social media buzz, weirdly enough, was Lego Horizon. Which really surprised me. I was like,
yes,
I was like, damn. I was like, yeah. I mean, I don't.
But
know
I wonder if it's for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, it could be.
It seems like everyone's like it's It's like being cherry picked apart over.
But I will say because I remember I had this discussion a while back, and because I don't know, we were trying to calculate the sales of a particular game, and it was slotted in between two other games, and I remember one of those games was Lego the Skywalker Saga, and I remember when they announced the sales of that in just 3 months, I think it did 5 million. So I was like, damn! I didn't know Lego games sell like that. But
if I may say something real quick,
go ahead,
on the Lego, I think what they have done, I know that a lot of us, especially PlayStation guys, we want to see some of the bangers start to drop, which they're there. We just, for whatever reason, they're waiting to show. But I would not. I will say this: don't expect the Horizon Lego game to be the last PlayStation Lego game to go onto the Switch.
Yeah, I could see, if it's a hit, I could see it just blossoming right into other franchises.
I would not be surprised if you don't see some other characters that represent PlayStation as a tentpole, if you will, going over and having their own Lego games. And I think that a lot of people... I saw one of the main questions, or one of the main negatives that surrounded is, you brought it to Switch, why would you not take it to the PS4? And to answer that, and I hope that gaming journalists kind of look into it to verify, this was kind of the plan all along, because Burning Shores is that Horizon IP. They made that specifically for the PS5, so they did not want to take this IP backwards and put it onto the PS4, but they did see an opening to attract an audience over on the Switch to make up for that.
Yeah,
which is why they went ahead and did that, while trying to entice the PS4 audience to buy up into the PS5 games. So I do think.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were finished. Sorry about that.
No, go ahead, man.
No. I'll finish your thoughts. Sorry to cut you off.
I think that in some ways, yes, the controversy or whatever you want to call it around it might have been warranted in some ways, but in other ways, I think it's a pretty smart move because for example, my kids are the next generation of gamers coming up. I don't know how many of you guys have kids. The number one game they watched kind of the showcase, and saw everything. The number one game that they were asking about, even being a 14-year-old and a 7-year-old, was the Lego game, and also about Astro Bot, because those games are like the Mario of whenever I grew up, and these kids are into the Lego games and being able to play these beloved characters that they really like in a Lego format. So I think, to us, maybe wanting to play some different games and see these bangers from Sony that we're so used to seeing and maybe, hungry to have, I think this was a really smart play on their part to roll this out right now in this mid-gen, if you will.
So we're going to get into that in a second. Go ahead, Personio. I'm going to hear what you have to say, then we're going to get the singer.
For sure. Yeah. I just wanted to respond to what he's saying about it being on a Switch over PS4. I don't know. I just think from my perspective, looking at the optics of the situation, it looks funny that a game like the Lego Horizon, which, just recently in their end of fiscal year earnings report, 49 million people are still on a PlayStation 4, and you opted not to put this on a PS4, but you put it on hardware that's weaker than that, which is a Switch. So I think optically looking at that looks weird. And I get it from that business perspective, we want people to buy up to the PS5. You don't want to be kind of held to the PS4 anymore. I get that, but then it's but you're held to the Switch because you're making it on even weaker hardware. So just for me, the optics looks weird.
And I agree there, but I did speak to someone that's been giving me some really good information that's been panning out on PlayStation, and they told me the reason for that is they did not want to take a Horizon IP now that they have moved in terms of Burning Shores, now that they have moved and said, hey, this is going to be next gen only. They did not want to take that and say, oh yeah, we're going to take this new form of the IP, even though it's not technically, it's still that world, right? It's still that Horizon IP world. They did not want to take that and put it back on that last gen when they are trying to entice that 49 million to buy up. But then they saw the opportunity to go over to the Switch, which they don't view Nintendo as a competitor like they do, the Xbox side, right? And so they saw that opportunity there with, 100 and some million Switches are out. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but it's a lot. They saw an opportunity to do that while still enticing. So I think from a gamer perspective, like what you're saying, man, I think that definitely it puts out that vibe, why did you do that? Why didn't you keep it in-house? But from a business perspective, I think it was extremely smart for them to do that, to make up and earn a lot of revenue potential over on the Switch, while also trying to entice those PS4 guys, if you want to play this game, to upgrade. So, yeah, I can see it both ways, though.
Seeds, did you, out of curiosity, have you read the Christopher Dring Eurogamer article? It came out a few hours ago. I made it because
I've not. I'm sorry, I did not read that.
So it was really interesting because I actually made a tweet on it literally just before jumping on this.
Well, you could Nib, you call it a tweet. Some of us call it a short novel, but please continue.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you make a Harry Potter book?
Yeah,
because an encyclopedia. No, so basically, I don't know if it's information from him just talking to people at PlayStation or if he's just sort of theorizing his own thoughts, but it's essentially the article is about Lego and why he thinks it's a really smart business play and what the intentions behind the strategy are. And one of the things he was saying is basically with Horizon and with a few of the other IP now, they're essentially trying to broaden out and cross-pollinate to other genres. So they have for Horizon, they have books, toys, a board game, they have the TV show, etc. coming up, right? And he was essentially saying, how do they get more exposure and awareness onto these other forms of IP as well, which are revenue streams? Yep. And essentially, they were saying the risk factor for Switch is really low, and they actually believe, it might actually even entice Switch players who play, because they said it's a younger demographic, and PlayStation is what they're cognizant of is how do we get the younger generation
over to
buy into
PlayStation.
Yeah,
that's
and
interesting.
what is the largest market of Switch owners? It's the Asian
yeah.
market.
That's the
And
thing
so
that's
it's
interesting.
an extremely smart play that a lot of people aren't looking at. And I do think, not to cut you off, but I do think, actually, I would say this: Aloy is not going to be the last Lego game. I was told that specifically.
And here's the thing,
So here's the thing, right?
Nib, you made a good point, and I just want to say, Phil Spencer even said this when he went on the Xcast, and he was like, you have to either be able to have a game that brings in new audiences, or you have to figure out how to get more money from the audience you have now if you're not able to grow.
Exactly.
Right? So Phil Spencer said himself, and that is an interesting point that Chris Drung brought up, or Dring, pardon me, on that article. And I did not read the article, but I'm not going to lie. Again, the Cliff's notes were done by Nib. Nib, I read your entire tweet. And you covered a good amount. You did. You covered a good amount of the article. I'm just saying. But I do think that that's the strategy here that we're hearing now from PlayStation. PlayStation's like, how do we grow? Because you have a lot of these other statistics out there saying the console market's not growing anymore. Well, they're sitting there and they're saying, well, wait a minute. How do we get some from this area and some from that area? We want to get some PC players to come here. We'll do this. If we can get some of the Switch to come over to this, that's how you grow your if consoles have in fact become stagnant, then that is how you would attempt to grow that fan base.
So one of the important points he made was that they're hoping. So you play Lego Horizon, you like the characters, you like the world, you love, beating up machine dinosaurs, right? It's a wicked thing. Like, who doesn't love that? And then it's like, okay, I want to play the real thing. This is the Lego version. What's the real thing? Well, then for that, you have to come over to PlayStation, right? So again, it kind of boils back to this, like the same with the PC staggered strategy, where the executives are on record as saying, look, not everyone will do it. Only a small portion will migrate over to PlayStation. But if even a small portion migrate over to PlayStation because they don't want to wait for the PC version of the game, or their hardware's not strong enough or whatever, then that's a win for PlayStation. They've still expanded their numbers, not by the same people, but drawn it from other platforms. And I think that's part of their sort of way to expand this PlayStation.
Yeah, and I would be surprised. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Brett.
Go ahead, Brett.
No, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
I was going to say real quick. I would not be surprised if you do not see PlayStation and Nintendo start to shake hands a little bit more where it makes sense. It does not make sense for PlayStation to take God of War Ragnarok over and try to put it and make it run on the Switch, right? It doesn't make sense. But where it does make sense are some of these Lego games and some of these games that, to some they may kind of scoff at. But when you have 100, whatever the number is, 120 million, let's just say that's the number of Switch, that makes a lot of sense to try and not only convert them and say, hey, you may only have a Switch, maybe they'll be interested in getting a PlayStation 5 as well. But it will also introduce them to things within the PlayStation ecosystem that they have never experienced before, such as Aloy, such as these other characters. And I would not be surprised that, going forward, we see them get a little bit tighter on certain IPs. Not all, but on certain IPs. I'm sorry, Brad. Go ahead, Ben.
Go ahead, Brad.
No, I was going to say, these are great points. I mean, these are things that we've been having conversations about for the last couple months on BRAP, which goes live every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We had Detect the Seeds on last night.
Nice
that was
plug.
a great show. And Eric Jackson as well. And The Real Innate, so go check that out. Shameless plug.
Great plug.
But no, these are these are things that we've been talking about. And if you've been paying attention to, which I think most people here in the panel have, what's the Sony business update or whatever, I forget what it was called, the official, but anyhow, where they talked about like their strategy and the core of the strategy has always been hardware, the PlayStation hardware in particular, right? Like how are we going to get more people to come to PlayStation, buy a PlayStation 5, get into the ecosystem? And these are levers that they're pulling to try to get those things to happen. Because if you look at their business, overall their business is pretty healthy. Despite the narratives that we hear out there that we know aren't true based on even Sony's own financials and the numbers that they provided recently, some of their KPIs. But everything else, and I look at it, everything else is kind of the icing on the cake for them. If they get I think Nip said this, if they get a small subset of PC gamers to buy a PlayStation 5, that's icing on the cake for them because of how healthy their business is. If they can get younger players, right? And we know, I know there's that narrative consoles are dying, but the ESA had a survey. They put a survey out here in the U.S. We see per that survey, the ESA, that Gen Z and Gen Alpha are actually playing on consoles more than Gen X and Millennials, and I'm like, what? Yeah. What? Like I was surprised to see that. I thought the opposite would have been true.
BRAP, it's surprising because of the reports we heard earlier this generation. But realistically, we were saying this behind the scenes before. Gen Z is going to end up becoming older and turning into Gen X, right? And after you've worked a 13-hour shift, you want to come home, you want to play, turn on your console, put on your 65-inch OLED, put your feet up, and you want to play a game without nonsense. So you will see more of those Gen Zs. I think they will gravitate more to console.
It's also, as they get older, they're going to have more disposable income. And so as we all know, as we have more disposable income as we get older, a lot of us who grew up gaming, I mean, I didn't nearly have the amount of gaming shit that I have.
No,
excuse me, I didn't mean to cuss.
No,
at 47, when I was like 18 years old. But I have a lot of disposable income now. I can afford all these other things, and I want more high end experiences because I can afford those experiences. So those are things that people don't think about. They just automatically jump to, everyone's gaming on mobile devices, and and I got the thing with mobile too is actually was Morgan Stanley that put out some literature on the mobile market, and they're saying that the mobile market has now become a mature market, and they said that the only way to grow that market is through figure out new ways to monetize the existing base and to create better games, better products that are going to keep people engaged, drive more revenue. That sounds very similar to what the console space. So I think some of the conversation, we said this on BRAP, the first 5 months of the conversation around gaming has been really about AAA games being unsustainable, the console market's dying, and coming out of Summer Game Fest, and I said this last night, my biggest takeaway is that no AAA games. Yeah, I mean, I understand that they're expensive. It's a high risk, high reward. But guess what? Look at the NPD Circana numbers. Look at, I've heard people say exclusives don't matter anymore. Look at Circana. Look at the top 10 games. More often than not, you'll see a couple exclusives sprinkled in there, right?
Yeah.
So the market's still demanding, still consuming, still buying exclusives.
Absolutely.
So they do matter. AAA games, same thing. You see all the AAA games that we saw coming out of Summer Games Fest, the Xbox Showcase. If they were truly, as people were suggesting, unsustainable and they're going away and this is the future and that, we wouldn't be seeing these publishers and studios still investing tremendous sums of money in making these games, but they're still doing it. Why? Because the market still supports that type of game. And until that stops, those games aren't going to go away. So that was my biggest takeaway from the game show, Summer Games Fest and the Xbox Showcase, is that gaming's in a much better place. A lot of the pundits and the content creators, and one particular platform, I might add, would have you believe the first half of this year.
Yeah. No, that's a valid point. I like your question out there to the audience, Brad, but I got to say, Singer, I do want to have your comments on this because I brought up something that I brought up. I threw it at Persona first, right? Persona knew that was coming. But Singer, I said to you, what does it mean when you see these games and then you know that you could play them on another platform? And you had a great answer back. What do you think of the showcase overall? And what do you think about when someone says to you, you know what, Singer, I'll just wait for those great Xbox games I saw. I'll pick it up on PS5 down the road.
To get with the showcase, me being a highly variety gamer, a big standout for me was Age of Mythology Retold. Now, a lot of people will be like, ooh, no. But if you played that way back when, 2002, back in the day when the Age of Empires and Age of Mythology and all these things were around, and seeing that at the show and it's releasing this year made me incredibly happy. That was one of my highlights. And I think they did a good job of showing you what's coming in the next 3 years. Because you have, for this year, you have Age of Mythology, Avowed, then you have Indiana Jones, Flight Simulator, and Stalker 2, I guess you could throw in there. And I'm like, okay, that's a good solid year. Then they showed you what 2025 is, a completely stacked year. 2025 is going to be amazing, because you have Fable, you have Doom, and you have South of Midnight. And then My personal opinion is Perfect Dark, State of K3, and Gear 6 are all 2026. That's just a theory of mine. But I think they showed you the next 3 years for the most part. I mean, they'll have other games. So the show was a 9 out of 10, and it showed me a great variety. It showed me games that I love to play in all the genres I like. I've made it very clear there is one particular genre which I do not care for. Chad Hellblade 2 looks beautiful, but will never play it. And the standout of the show would have to be Perfect Dark for me, because we heard all the reports, the game's in development hell, the initiative's struggling, they had to bring in Crystal Dynamics. While I saw at the showcase, all those reports went out the window. I'm like, I'm not seeing a game in trouble.
Well, I would say that it goes out the window to a certain extent, but all the things that were troubling and then bringing in another studio, that also is, well, we don't know if they were in trouble, but them bringing in another studio and doesn't necessarily show, confidence that they were okay without Crystal Dynamics. Is that fair? Is that fair?
I'm grateful for Crystal coming in, because Crystal could, they clearly needed.
I think they helped. Yeah, I think they really did. And it looks great.
Help,
game looks amazing.
But the product they produced for the show, looks clean.
Yes, agreed.
Absolutely. If you didn't know about any of those reports, you wouldn't have guessed it from looking at that trailer.
Well, most casuals are not listening and reading the reports. We're reading anyways. But yeah, no, I completely hear you, Singer. But you made a great point about waiting for games. What did you think about that? Because I mean that was a point of contention after the show.
Well, the waiting for games that's down to the individual gamer. Like I was willing to wait for Ghost of Tsushima because I'd have to pay at the time when that came out. I wasn't willing to make the expenditure for one game. I'm never willing to do that for one or two games. I'm willing to wait. Because I have a very specific genre of... a whole bunch of genres. But unfortunately, only two of the companies really give me what I want personally as a gamer. They feed me. And another company, unfortunately, doesn't give me as much in the department of what I'm interested in. They don't cater to my interests. So... of course, I'm going to happily wait, but I get everything anyway. I get Nintendo, I get Xbox, and I'm getting PlayStation at this point. So, I'm more than happy to wait. And if you're a PlayStation-only gamer, you're like, okay, I know these games are coming over soon. Would it be a year or 2 years? I'm leaning on, at minimum, a year, if not longer, for these games to come to PlayStation. I think they'd give it a year. The same way PlayStation treats PC. A year or two. Either way before they come over. So that's the way I feel about it. It's just
I would argue not all games would fall within that category though. Like we see Doom, the Dark Age.
Day and date.
That's day one. Yeah, so I think when you're looking at some of their releases, so something like a South of Midnight, that might be something where they'll say, we'll bring this out on another platform like PlayStation or wherever a year down the line or 6 months or whatever. But I think some of those bigger tentpole titles, they may want to maximize those profits as early on as possible, especially if there's a multiplayer component attached to it.
I agree to an extent, but with Doom in particular, as the famous saying from Phil goes, if they have a history with the platform, Doom has a great history with PlayStation. A game like Fable has no history.
What history does Sea of Thieves have with PlayStation?
It doesn't, but that also, Sea of Thieves released when? 2008? When did 2017?
2016 or 2017, yeah.
2017.
But that's when the plan, obviously this plan was in its infancy. When you look at and Mooch, I don't want to get ahead of you in your topic.
No, go ahead.
So
they kind of go together. Go ahead.
When you look at the best-selling games for PlayStation Store this month, last month in May, Sea of Thieves is at the top of the list.
Yep.
So, I don't see a Phil Spencer or a Satya or whomever looking at that and saying, "Yeah, we need to slow this down." I think we need to. Exactly. I think we need to speed this up because they're saying, because I'm pretty sure they're saying, wow, we're seeing tremendous success. 7 years later, I wonder what type of success we can get earlier on.
Can I?
You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm saying. And I'll shut up after this. That's why I'm saying. And listen, I'm not saying everything whole slate, everything's going. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, I do think there are conversations being, and especially look at the interview that Phil Spencer had on IGN Live. There's definitely conversations happening right now where they're saying maybe we don't need to wait over a year, especially since PlayStation has the largest market in the console space.
Yeah.
Why would you wait?
I'm sorry, Death Singer. I just want to chime in, just piggyback quickly off of what Persona said, because I think he brings up a great point with kind of, like maybe accelerating that time frame when these games release. I think when you look at a couple things, you look at declining hardware sales. If you can't sell hardware, you're gonna have a very difficult time selling software, and we see that based on the numbers and things like that they release, and NPD, Circana, stuff from other publishers. But anyhow. But the one thing that really stood out to me from the IGN interview is that Phil's like, hey, look, when asked about the studio closures, he's like, look, I have a business to run. It needs to be, I need to run a sustainable business.
That's right.
Yep. And so, to Persona's point, if you can't sell, if you can't sell hardware, which is the catalyst of selling software, then you really need to leverage the install base of your competitors and bring your software to them, which Satya's kind of talked about. So I don't disagree with Persona. I think they are probably, based on the things I mentioned, in my opinion, at least, I don't see why not, or I don't see them not accelerating. I think they will accelerate, the release window.
Mikey Barra said basically the same thing as well this week. He said you have to embrace other platforms at this point with the money spent. And he didn't allude into exactly what you said right there and what Persona was saying, which I think you and Persona really spelled it out crystal clear. And that is without having those Xboxes being sold, and you see the drastic drop month to month. Whether it be PC or it be PlayStation 5, you have to have a platform to sell it to. And if it's not being sold and it's not racking up the numbers on Game Pass, then it just makes business sense. And Phil said he says it. It's a bit cryptic, but yeah.
Not only that, Mooch, but I think what people need to realize is, when you're looking at Microsoft right now, we're looking at a very different Microsoft. You're looking at a Microsoft that just dropped in the span of 5 years. They just dropped almost $100 billion on 2 publishers, right? Mm-hmm. The largest acquisition in the history of acquisitions with Activision, $70 billion. I think for Microsoft, it's kind of like a do or die situation, especially being in third place within the console space. I think Microsoft, and more so Satya's thinking is, I would rather be the breadwinner in my weakest market than play the game of exclusivity.
Yep.
The thing is, here's my rebuttal to that, right? Because the rebuttal is, it's very nice sounding, and this is the way they're going to go. But the reason I said the year thing is, especially for the big AAA games, is how long will Starfield until it goes to PlayStation, right? Because I think that is a great test bed, because that's a big AAA game with a lot of money and fanfare. Now,
I get that, Singer, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but what this plan is still obviously being developed, and it's still in its infancy. So obviously things won't be day and date across the board with everything. I do agree with you there, but I do think that as the years go by and as time continues on, you will see, just kind of like how you're seeing it with PlayStation. When you look back to 2019, 2020, when Jim Ryan was saying that they were going to put games on PC as a test, what test? And, it's a question that I asked today on my Twitter. Sea of Thieves being the #1 selling game in both US and Europe in the PlayStation Store. This was also a test with these 4 games. We see that the test was successful. What is the next logical step? Mm-hmm. Not saying everything needs to happen day one, but there is going to be an acceleration when it comes to some of those tentpole titles to push them to the competing platform much quicker, to maximize those profits much sooner.
So on that point, Persona, it's interesting because the only 2 games that, in terms of year-to-date Circana NPD list, so year-to-date meaning the entirety of the year charts, The only two Xbox games in the last like decade and a half that have actually, well, the last one was Starfield, and before that it was Gears of War 4, right? So a long time ago. I can't remember the exact. I think it was in 2016.
16.
Yeah, but here's the thing. So far, because of PlayStation, Sea of Thieves is currently, I think, number 4 in the year to date. It may not be by the end of the year, but the fact that it's holding strong at 4, I know it just came out, but it's sold enough to basically move straight to the list. And the other point I was going to make is, just because exclusives aren't selling as well on a particular platform, maybe because of Games Pass cannibalization, who knows? It doesn't mean that exclusives aren't doing really well elsewhere. Because BRAP made another point. He was talking about Sakana. The last year to date chart that just came out, PlayStation has 5 console exclusives in the top 20. 5.
Yeah, isn't Gran Turismo still in there?
I think. I mean, it's not in the year to date, but it has charted intermittently. So in the year to date, you've got let me just have a look. I've got the list. You've got Helldivers 2. You've got Final Fantasy Rebirth. Marvel Spider-Man 2, Rise of the Ronin, and Stellar Blade. And then including Nintendo games as well, exclusives, almost half of the Sakana year-to-date sales is exclusives. The really interesting thing about that is exclusives only make up roughly 5% of total releases. The vast majority of games are multi-platform. Yeah, they're not big games or games that we know about, but the vast majority are multi-platform games. And yet, even though they constitute, say, 5% of the overall releases, right now, they're making up almost half of Sakana's entire top 20 chart, and PlayStation has 25% of it. So clearly exclusives are still bolstering certain platforms, but where it hasn't worked necessarily for Microsoft, they're seeing this success now on PlayStation. So I agree with Persona. Like, I think financially, it would be very difficult to move away from that now. However, the only thing I would say is I think the thing that will prevent the quicker and day-to-day releases will be more of a logistical thing, because it's like, okay, these studios that haven't necessarily have expertise on the PlayStation 5, they may have not even worked on the API at all.
That's a good point.
PlayStation 5.
Yeah,
they use a custom API, completely different. It's not DirectX. So I think it will take some time for the teams to transition, to build up the work, because you need to hire more people to do porting, etc. Otherwise, like immediately, like say 10, 15, 20% of your team is gone to porting, which is going to affect development. So I think it will take time for them to kind of adjust their teams to start to transition to work alongside the PS5. And that will be the main reason why there's more of this staggered release thing right now, not necessarily because that's what their intention or priority is.
And that's exactly why I put the year. It'll eventually probably get to a year, but I think that's the fastest it'll come, is a year. So let's say, I don't know, let's take a game. Not Gears. Let's say State of Decay 3 releases.
Yeah.
Well, I could see it 2 years. Let's say 2 years, right? Okay. So when it's finally started, because some of the smaller games might be a year. Like South of Midnight might be a year rather than Gears would be 2 years, for example. And I could see that happening, because it's, as I liken it to the same way PlayStation releases its games on PC. Like Ratchet & Clank, released in 2021 on PlayStation, 2023 on PC. 2 years. And even then, PlayStation has varying how long it takes them to release a game.
Yeah.
Like, so how long God of War Ragnarok took to come to PC, right? Came this year. When did it release? Ragnarok?
December 27th, or like November 27th, 2022. I'm sorry.
Right, so it's 2 years for God of War Ragnarok. So
yeah, but the thing, Death Singer, and this is kind of where the rules don't apply the same for PlayStation as they do for Microsoft. The reason why I say that is because, if God of War were to not ever release on PC, it still sold upwards of 15 million copies on PlayStation 4 and 5. If you look at Horizon Forbidden West, a game sold upwards of 10 million copies. If you look at Ghost of Tsushima, it sold upwards of 10 million copies before releasing on PC. The issue with the approach for Microsoft is Microsoft isn't afforded that same luxury where they can really sit on these games for an extended period of time if they're looking to make a substantial amount of money in a shorter period of time, or to recoup any losses, especially if you're going to be putting the game into a subsidized service like Game Pass. So because you're putting these games into Game Pass, because you're releasing, the expectation is, we want to you're pushing Game Pass, which that's your business model. You still have to make up for the losses of these games not being sold at full price on your platform elsewhere. And PC may be able to do that to a degree, but that's not going to be with every game. So to cover your bases, especially again within the console space, you're going to want to go where the people that are buying games are, and that is PlayStation.
Yeah, and I think they're gonna ship. I agree with Persona. I think they're gonna ship them at a faster cadence, and they're gonna ship them at a much with a much more emphasis on a digital approach rather than physical, because Microsoft wants to capture as much revenue as they can. So if you're able to cut out your distribution channels of GameStop, Target, some of these other places, and you go to a digital storefront, you've now been able to cut out quite a bit of expense that you take on for game distribution. I would not be surprised that in the next, let's say, 2 to 3 years, is probably what I would be comfortable saying. I would not be surprised in the next 2 to 3 years that you see a digital-only approach of Microsoft sending it over to PlayStation. Because they're already doing it on PC, right?
Well,
I mean, they put games on Steam.
Here's another test. Deathsinger, you were saying a test. This is interesting, and I saw somebody in the chat mention just Hellblade 2. So Hellblade 2, I would assume, and we don't have the numbers out yet. I don't think. If anybody has any BRAP seeds, anybody Persona.
No, I haven't seen anything.
But word on the street is it didn't sell great. Okay, as far as sales go, right? So the question I have is, how long will it take for Hellblade 2 to come to PlayStation? And the reason I asked that, it is that exactly, Singer. So that's the one I want to kind of focus on, that I'll be looking at, because I think that's what's going to dictate games like South of Midnight. Listen, Hellblade was. But
the thing is,
so
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, my bad. Really quick, I wanted to give a comparison. Do you think the time between releases, potentially between Xbox and PlayStation's Hellblade 2, would be the same as what Hi-Fi Rush was? Right?
Well, no. So I think when it comes to, and this is kind of where, things that Phil Spencer has said in the past of like a case by case, I think that falls in line here as well, right? So something like a Hellblade 2, I would assume, at least for me, if I was somebody that was looking to port things to the competing platform, Hellblade 2 would be much lower on the totem pole for me as a priority to move to another platform, as opposed to something like a Starfield or something like a
Persona. Did you cut out
or something? There right? I would think that Hellblade 2 is lower on the totem pole because it's a lower budget, a much lower budget game, and yes, it may sell, but the idea is, at least for me, I would think that Starfield would actually sell more and garner more eyes and revenue because of it being Bethesda, it being Todd Howard, it being a game that had a lot of buzz last year, and that would be worth putting the resources to over Hellblade 2. Not saying Hellblade 2 wouldn't come.
No.
But I just think it wouldn't be as high on the priority list.
I'm not gonna. And Brad, I'll give you that in 1 second. I just want to explain the Persona, because I didn't mean as far as priority. I didn't get my point across right, because Persona, I think what you said makes sense. What I'm saying is this: I'm saying Hellblade was already throughout the community, not for the casual gamer. But everybody was talking about, you remember all the controversy when Hellblade showed up on PS4, it wasn't on Xbox. And when it came to Xbox, and everybody was like, oh, if this came to Xbox, we would have bought it day one, it would have been big. My point being is that that's a game that people knew about. Hellblade 2 was at least something that was familiar to PlayStation gamers and Xbox gamers. I use South of Midnight for an example now. South of Midnight, a new IP. Do you think Persona, and again, I'm not holding this to you, but I'm asking you just a question. Do you think South of Midnight will sell more copies than Hellblade 2 on Xbox?
On the Xbox.
Xbox and PC. I don't care where you want to go. I think Hellblade 2 has a more entity, right?
So my answer, I was gonna say my answer for that might not necessarily be the politically correct answer. And I think Eric specifically may know where I'm going with South of Midnight. So I don't know. I think South of Midnight looks good. I think it looks like a really fun game. I hope it sells.
Yeah.
But I do think that that's a game that might not necessarily sell as much because it's in Game Pass. It's going to be on Game Pass on Xbox and Game Pass on PC.
Right. So if you see,
I don't really see that being something that really is going to sell a whole lot.
So Persona, what I'm saying though is
Hellblade. Well, that'll be one of the reasons.
Eric. I don't want to say the other reasons, but you know.
We don't have to. But people know.
I think we know Persona.
I don't want to go down that path because we've seen the stuff, the talking points, and all that on Twitter. So I don't really want to go there. Yeah.
Eric, but I guess this is just the same thing I was asking Persona. My point was about sales. I want to see if sales for Hellblade 2 were not good, and that ends up coming to PlayStation. Let's just say this holiday. Wouldn't other games that were smaller that we saw, like Project, what was it there? Perfect Dark, South of Midnight, a couple of the other games that are. Do you think those would go if those sales don't exceed a certain number? Those are the games I'm watching to see if they come over to PlayStation. Was my point. I'm just saying.
I don't even think it would be necessarily the sale. Well, because
even Perfect Dark,
the sales play a part in that. I think Microsoft is more so chasing the subscription number, right? I think when it comes to the sales aspect, I think they know and understand because they've said it themselves in those leaked court documents that Game Pass cannibalizes sales, and even when we look at something like a Call of Duty Black Ops 6, which will be in Game Pass, I think Microsoft also knows because Call of Duty is a game that sells everywhere, even Xbox. And now you're putting a game like that into a subscription service, which will now further diminish the potential sale that you could get on your own platform in the name of having a subscription, a sub in your subscription service. So I think when you look at something like that and how bullish that is, I think you can kind of gauge where Microsoft's thinking is when it comes to sales. At least when it comes to their platform, I don't think at this point they care. I think they care more about the subscription to Game Pass, and if those numbers aren't met, or if it's not met in a timely manner, that's when they may move things a little bit quicker than normal. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to go regardless. It's just a matter of how long that's going to take.
And I think it's because they jumped the gun on Game Pass, okay? Because you guys made a lot of points recently about why games aren't selling on the Xbox, and I'll be that guy to say it. It's because Xbox games haven't been good. Okay, you guys have talked about it a lot the last couple of years. Xbox has not put out a lot of good games. That's why they haven't sold. Persona talked about the games that PlayStation came out with, and he was like, million here, million here, million here. The masses liked those games. Okay, the masses haven't been liking the Xbox games. Now, the reason I think that Game Pass jumped the gun is because there weren't any real big draws to come to that service. Now you have Xbox. They came out with one of the greatest shows in the past 4 to 5 years. Even, the weirdo fanboys of PlayStation, they'll even be like, okay, that was a pretty good show, right? So it's like, if you wanted to have games sell on Game Pass and not worry about, if they're not going to sell, we're going to have to push it to other consoles and blah, blah, blah. Why weren't you ready to push these games, these, quote unquote good games? Now, I loved the showcase. They still have to execute, and that has been Xbox's problem recently. They still have to execute these games, these Gears, these State of Decays, South of Midnights, all that. I just think that the reason the conversation now has shifted to we need to put games on other consoles is because our games haven't been selling. Well, I mean, no shit. They're not good. We'll say that your best game has been Starfield. I'll give you that, okay? And you guys have talked in lengths on why that game is not, a banger, okay? But other than Starfield, what has Xbox really given you a reason to buy Game Pass? And it's almost like you guys are pushing these exclusives now, or these should have been exclusives to other platforms, where it's like, man, you're kind of missing. I think you're missing a lot of money, getting people to buy your system.
It does seem like they. First off, Mooch, you're going to let him call you a fanboy like that? I mean,
no, I didn't. No, I wasn't saying you. I was talking
brother. I'm just messing with you.
Not a problem. About the Twitter people.
That's why he wanted to come on just to slander you.
Yeah,
I do think.
Yeah, we got Mooch the fanboy, and we got a Nib. I'm going to change your name to Nib Tanica on Twitter.
Yeah. Listen, I will say this much though.
Maybe he was talking about me. I don't know.
I think it's funny that we say this.
No, I was talking about the weirdo Twitter people. Shout out to the Wise Old Gamer, and he's up here, and Wise actually has a few things here. He says Xbox just wants you to play their games, and they don't care where. To think Microsoft games not going multi-plat is just simply lying to themselves. But then he says, and I'm looking real quick what he said here in the chat. I have to actually scroll up a second here. He says something along the lines of, Mooch, he says, and I'm paraphrasing Wise Old Gamer because I don't see your actual message right this second. But he says, just Call of Duty and Doom alone is enough for you to want to subscribe to Game Pass. There's always been games in there that you could ask any individual gamer and say to them, do you think that this is worth that money? We all say that the value of Game Pass is definitely very good. Value's in the eye of the beholder, I will say that much. But I will say that the value's always been there. But the one thing that I'll say to the Wise Old Gamer when he says just Call of Duty alone and Doom are worth Game Pass, that's fine. And I'm sure you could get a bunch of people. It doesn't make any
sense, though.
But for me personally, but Persona, I like to own my games. Like that, there is something to that.
Not only that, but I think Call of Duty and Doom are bad examples for the reason of those two games are games that people would buy if they weren't in a service. It benefits Microsoft more than it benefits the gamer to have those games in the service because it means continued revenue for them instead of a one-time purchase. And having you as a subscription service, a subscriber, and another number added under their belt. That's the goal. But for the gamer, if all you play is Call of Duty every year, and a Call of Duty is $70, even if you buy the $100 bundle, that's still just $100 and that's it. You move on.
Right.
It doesn't make sense for you to subscribe to a service to play a game that you buy every year, and that's the main game that you mostly play throughout the year, especially if you're not really interested. Especially if you're not interested in those other titles that's in Game Pass.
Because let's be honest, subscription fatigue is the thing right now.
Yeah.
And people are like, man, I got to add another one of these things. And I know Xbox dudes don't want to hear this. Anytime you talk about the all-powerful, the all-great platform of Game Pass, because let's be honest, that is the platform now. It's not necessarily Xbox's Game Pass. They don't want to talk about it. And it's like, there's a lot of factors that go into that. If Game Pass works for you, that's great. But I'll say, Mooch, I've said it 100 times, time is also a commodity. Yeah. And we all look at that too when we look at our Disney Pluses, our Hulu, our Hulus, our net. I'm like, damn, I have all these subscribers. I don't have time to watch all this stuff on here.
Right.
Something's got to give. Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Gaming is not consumed the same way we consume music.
That's right.
Movies.
No.
Everything else. No. So if you're spending, a game can take you hundreds of hours to play, and if you're now a couple of months into that, at the time, adulting, everything else, you've already paid that subscription over and over and over again. It's like I might as well just bought the game and been done with it.
Eric, I'm so glad
I just want to confirm something really quick with
Go ahead, Kofi.
Both the single player or whatever will be of the single player and multiplayer will be included in Game Pass. Is that confirmed?
Yeah, it is confirmed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And speaking of,
I think it depends on which subscription you have. So they've broken it down depending on which one you have.
Hey, how often did the Battle Pass come out?
On that note, the thing is, me personally, I'm going to consume Call of Duty through Game Pass. Now, people might be like, Thing is, the last Call of Duty I played was when I thought Call of Duty was good, and that was Black Ops 3. Now, I've been out of the scene of Call of Duty for a while, but my time has been spent playing single-player games, and I had a problem of so many different live service games, and I had to cut out some, and I'm like, so what can I cut? I can't cut League of Legends. I've been playing that since it first launched. That will never get cut, ever. The only time that disappears is when it closes down. So I cut Call of Duty. I couldn't cut Fortnite because loads of people I know play Fortnite. So I had to cut it, but now it's in Game Pass. I would never spend 70 on Call of Duty because I'm going to be real. I'll play it for a couple of months and then I'm done, right? I'm going to check out because there's single player games and other games I have to get around to. So I can't dedicate my time to Call of Duty. So the whole it being in Game Pass is a huge benefit to me personally as a subscriber. I'm like, okay, cool. I could finally get around.
Yeah,
to
but
play
you were
Call
gonna fit it regardless. Like you're not the person that refers to, because like you just said yourself, you don't really play Call of Duty that much.
Right.
So for you, it's not necessarily, you're not the consumer where it's like, okay, it doesn't make sense for Call of Duty for me to subscribe to play COD because me buying it and that's the main game I play every year.
Right.
It doesn't fall that you don't fall within that category. So of course, it being in Game Pass, that benefits you because you don't really play COD like that anyway.
Well, yeah, I'm speaking on a personal basis as a thing towards that conversation is, as a hardcore gamer, like, that's the way I'm going to consume Call of Duty from now on, because if I love zombies more than anything, and now turn-based is back. Like, most of my time will be in there. I won't be in multiplayer, I'll be in zombies. Like, that's just the reality. Campaign and zombies. And then some multiplayer people want to play. Hit me up, by the way. But, you know, so it's, you know.
Well, here's another...
I've said before, Destinger, I really do think...
I'm sorry, guys. Hey, Mooch, I got to run. Sorry, guys.
Eric, thanks for being here tonight. Okay. I really appreciate it.
Later, Eric.
No
Have a good
problem.
one.
Thank you, Eric.
You too, later.
Go ahead, Nib, and then I want to respond to the WoolleyGamer. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say about how I've said before, I think it appeals more to the core gamer or enthusiast gamer, people who do have a proclivity towards loads of different titles and genres and have that time to invest. Whereas I think Persona's talking about more of the casuals who would push these Game Pass subscriber numbers to the targets that they actually have had for like 3-4 years now, but have failed to meet. Like, to get that demographic, the casuals, so to speak, I think he's right. I think like someone who just plays Call of Duty and FIFA, and to be fair, most of the people, if we look at the numbers, the 180 million or whatever, the vast majority of people who play Call of Duty are actually playing Warzone, which is already free anyway. Not the mainline title. I think the mainline titles, they sell between 16 and 30 million per annum, but that's across every platform, you know. And then obviously with Game Pass, you might have some cannibalization. But the other thing I was just going to quickly say is, you know, your boy Roy, he was saying like Game Pass, maybe they jumped the gun on it. I'm not sure, because the thing, I think what we've seen, they expected, you know, a jump to, I think it was 33 million subs through Forza Horizon 5 and Halo Infinite, and they expected another big jump. I think it was to 44 million after Starfield, and that did not transpire with either of those titles. I think when I look at the showcase, I love so many of the games. Like, I think they look fantastic, but I don't know how much like mass consumer appeal they have. You know, even something like Fable. I just had a look a minute ago, and the entire Fable franchise has sold 10 million. You know, and there's like, you know, you could have a PlayStation IP, even a new IP like Ghost of Tsushima, it did that number, you know, on its own. Whereas the entire Fable franchise has done 10 million. So again, I'm not sure how many.
Advertisement issue?
I don't know. I really don't know. But I'm not sure. But all I can say is I'm not sure. In the same way, I don't think they would move the needle the way Microsoft probably would hope. And I think that's probably why, you know, despite them having a higher volume of games coming, they probably still aren't that sure that they're going to push Game Pass to a broader casual market. I think they believe it will probably stay within that enthusiast wheelhouse, which is kind of stagnating around this, you know, 30 million number. I think it's like 34, including Xbox Live Gold. But you know, prior to Gold being combined into it, it was, you know, 25 million. So it hasn't really moved beyond that number much in the last 2-3 years. And so I don't know how much.
The thing about Fable is, you have to remember when 1, 2, and 3 came out. What period of time? Like Fable, it only sold 10 million, but like back on the OG Xbox and the 360. Like, that's when the 3 Fables came out. But look at the dominant games at the time. You had the Call of Duties. Halo was on fire. Gears was dominating everything. You had the Mass Effect series come out.
Oblivion.
Yeah, like, there were so many massive games. So Fable became a classic to Xbox-only gamers. But it didn't sell that much because...
Let me ask you this question. What do you think in the showcase of the titles they showed off, which do you think will have the most commercial success? And do you think any title that they announce could match Starfield in terms of commercial success?
The game that would most likely do... Does Doom count? Because there's two. If Doom and Gears. Doom's going to have massive commercial success, because Doom is a very... People will buy that in the droves. And the other one would be Gears, because the important part of Gears is they went away from JID or whatever his name is. I can't remember his name in Gears 5. And they've gone back to, cleverly, I might add, back to Marcus Phoenix and Dom and the original crew. And I think that's what the Gears fan has been after.
Fair enough.
So
the only thing I would say, though, is Gears has been declining in sales by orders of magnitude, actually. In fact,
because
I remember...
games have been getting worse.
Yeah, the games have been getting worse. Yeah. That's because, like, when they announced the shout out to this.
I really like Gears 5, man. Everyone's slamming it now.
No.
But really quick.
Problems in the multiplayer department, right? It didn't really. There was issues with Gears multiplayer, and that's where Gears got us. Sure, the campaign was fine, but if you look at Gears 1, 2, 3. The multiplayer was what everyone played.
Look at what's going on with Gears 5 today to E-Day, right? They've completely changed this. They've dropped the ending of the story. They're not even going to go back to it. And not only that, people were asking if they were going to do and follow suit. Remember when you had the skiff or whatever that was, and you were going around the sand and had a semi-open area? Are you going to have a semi-open area? They're like, no, it's going to be pretty much linear. They basically went right back to what the original 3 were. Which, by the way, thank you, Coalition.
Yes. Can I speak to that really quick as being obviously like mostly an Xbox ecosystem skeptic, but a lover of the Gears franchise? We always talk about it, right? The first commercial for the first Gears of War game.
Yes.
I still get very nostalgic. I get chills because of the way it was presented. I felt that personal experience watching Phoenix fight against his Locust. I don't know that maybe it was because they were just fighting in one room, and the way that the Locust looked like he was just about to kill Phoenix at any moment. It made me think, wow, I love this moment so much. When him and Dom turn around and you're like, oh, this is what Emergence Day was like. They didn't know what was coming. There's some sort of dread that I felt when I saw that, but I didn't feel that when I saw the weird, I don't even know how to describe trailer for Gears 5, where she was shaking her head left and right, and I understand what they were trying to convey with, the spoilers at the end of the game, but it didn't hit. This hit. And I just want to say, I also have confidence that could be a game that could be possibly as on the same level as Starfield. They need to spend a little bit of money telling people about it.
Yes.
Because that's a problem with Xbox right now. But that, like, bringing back Dom, having like this personal moment where there's surprise. It's almost like it's just a bit of a light reference, but The Last of Us, right? We didn't know what was going on in the opening scenes. I mean, obviously you saw the commercials and stuff like that, but I'm saying from the perspective of Joel, everything was happening at that moment. And I think E-Day is going to be very similar to that. At least that's what my fandom self is believing about where they can tell this story. So I think it has an opportunity to be pretty awesome, for the ecosystem.
And it'll sell really, really well, because this is what the Gears fans have been hungering. I think they lost their way with 4 and 5. They had a bunch of issues with the multiplayer, like the multiplayer was fucking up, the microtransactions. They were in for a bad time, but it looks like they've gone, okay, we need a correction course, and this is the correction course. And I think with what they said about it being linear, it's following Marcus and Dom, it makes sense Marcus is struggling like hell because he has no idea who this is. This Locust just appeared and is kicking his ass. He's like, who are these people? And then, because obviously this is the first time they're meeting the Locust, so it's got that thing to it, and the way they remixed Mad World in with the trailer.
Yes, very well done.
Oh,
very well
it got so emotional.
Very well done.
I'll just say this, so Gears of War 1 is still my favorite, right, in the franchise.
Yes.
I played the remaster. I still really loved it. And I agree, everything you're saying, and them talking about going back to horror vibes, I kept saying, like, come on, man, this is, the original Gears had this atmosphere and drama to it that these I don't think the new ones have, right? But saying that, I just do still wonder if that will necessarily translate, because you said it's going to be more linear, right? I feel like if I'm looking at the rest of the staple of games that have done these big numbers, right, that are of the cinematic caliber, whether it's Last of Us 2 or Spider-Man or God of War Ragnarok, whatever, They've actually gone the opposite route, is where I think they're thinking linearity, strictly linearity, might be more of a old design or slightly archaic design. So they're trying to broaden out their environments and the scope, and AI and multi-path ways to do certain things, and more broad methods to kill people and all these other things, right? So they've kind of pushing out the boundaries of their expansions of the world and stuff, and even things like Elden Ring, right? Like it's now freeform design and everything. So as much as, like, to me as an enthusiast gamer, hearing we're going back to the linear roots, it does really appeal to me. I'm not sure. Yeah, I love hearing that, but I don't know whether, like, the broader consumer set necessarily would. And I'm not saying it won't. I actually have no idea, and I'm really curious to see how it performs.
Yeah. But I think the broader consumer just wants a great game.
Yes,
and regardless if it's open world or linear. I mean, if you look at some of the linear games PlayStation has, I think they do just fine. Yeah. It's just the fact of
I think they did definitely. But I'm talking about in 2025 and 6, will they carry the same?
I think honestly, honestly, I do think, Nib, that there is a market for that. I think that you have a resounding nostalgia with many, many gamers that are okay with that. I mean, listen, Elden Ring is a massive success, and we're going to get into the DLC in a bit, because I want to, in the fire round later on in the show, I'll ask you guys a question about it. But I, for one, miss some of the linear parts of the Dark Souls series. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And I've spoke to a few people. I'm not saying that the Souls, community feels that way at all. I'm not saying that. I just think that there's some nostalgia there. I think there's room for that. And the thing, though, Nib, when you do something open world, you really have to do it right. And I thought,
I didn't mean open world. I meant wide linear. So I think what, like,
I thought you were saying open world versus
what they've kind of done some sort of halfway in between. And I think the reason is because they want you to, search to collect stuff and resources and things like that. Whereas, say, like in the PS3 gen, they were very, very strictly linear. I would say actually Hellblade 2 harkens back to game design from, like, say, 2 gens ago. I really enjoyed Hellblade 2, by the way. I feel like I'm surrounded by Xbox fans who didn't even enjoy it, but I actually really enjoyed it. But yeah, again, it was never going to have much commercial success, but it's really done quite poorly. I think yesterday I saw 52 people were playing it on Steam, and I'm just like, what the hell? Like, It really does deserve way more than that. So yeah, I'll be really interested to see. I will say I will love it if it does have huge commercial success and it is, linear, because there's so many open world games now. It would be cool if more games started to adopt that again, just to spice it up a little bit. So,
and shout out to the wise old gamer here. He says, let me play devil's advocate. He says, if I'm going to buy Doom and Black Ops 6, why not pay $15 for 10 months and get those games and possibly more? Pay $15 for 10 months is what he wrote. So my only thing, wise, I'm glad you said that, but like, let me put it this way. The past couple of years, I'm only speaking for myself. I bought Starfield on Steam. I have not used Game Pass really at all. So even if this year was to be the year that you go, why don't you just get those 2 games? It's worth its weight in gold. I've been paying $203, right? Not me, hypothetically, because I was still on the deal. But most people have been paying $203 to be an Ultimate Game Pass member and not necessarily playing those bangers. So they've paid $203 for the last 3 years, and now this year they're going to pay $203 for 2 or 3 of their favorite games that may come out. Again, then next year, maybe they don't want to play the games that are coming out in there that are big from Xbox. And you say, well, there's other games in there. That goes to what Eric Jackson was saying earlier. Eric said it. He's like, time is not necessarily... Like, I don't need to know that I have 400 games in Game Pass that I'll get to never or eventually or someday down the... There's so many games coming out right now. You see it all over Twitter all day long. People are like, so many games. There's so many games. There's so many new games that pique interest amongst different types of gamers that not necessarily do they want to go back and play a game that came out 4 years ago that just entered Game Pass. Now, maybe you're listening later or you're listening now and you say, well, I do. That's great. You're that consumer. But you can't believe that because you're that consumer that everybody is that type of consumer. That's my only devil's advocate to Wise's devil advocate. It's like I've been paying you pay for these months in and out. All of a sudden they have one good year. You're like, come on, Mooch, it makes sense. Well, this year it does, right? But then it goes to owning your games. And I can't speak to you guys. If you guys have no problem continuously wanting to rent games, that's fine. I don't that doesn't bother me at all that you guys do that. Myself personally, Persona said it. Persona knows. Persona, you play a lot of Call of Duty. I play a lot of Call of Duty. Like I just buying Call of Duty for me every year is just what I do. I don't, you know what I mean? And I want to. I actually want to. I know some people don't want to hear that. I want to buy it. Is that a bad thing, Persona?
The thing, yeah, like I buy Call of Duty all the time. I didn't buy Modern Warfare 3 because I thought it was complete, you didn't care for it. A bad game.
Yeah.
But Black Ops 6 is looking really promising, and I already have it pre-ordered and whatnot. But, it's weird that, with these conversations, I see within the community on social media, people are saying, well, yeah, the casuals will come. They're gonna flock to Game Pass, and I'm like, just a year ago, 2 years ago, people were telling you casuals don't care about all these other AAA games. They only care about the same games: Fortnite, Apex, Call of Duty, and sports titles. Mm-hmm. Why would a casual buy into a service to play all these other games they don't care about for just one game that they do care about? No, what they're going to do is they're going to buy the game like they continue to, and they're going to play it where they were playing it. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like these are the arguments that people were telling me on Twitter or on social media. Casuals don't care about God of Wars and Last of Us and all these other games. So if they don't care about that, why would they care about South of Midnight and all these other games
and Perfect
just
Dark.
For COD? Yeah, Perfect Dark. They don't care.
They don't care.
They care about Call of Duty. And for people think casual gamers are just these idiots that just don't know. No,
right.
Casual gamers are consumers as well that can also they know when they're being, I don't want to say ripped off, but they know a bad deal when they see one. Where it's like, if I'm a casual gamer, why would I spend more than $70 to play a game that I want to own anyway, that I don't own?
That's right. And listen, we
gotta stop this.
Actually, I have a great analogy for that, Persona.
What's that?
Like how people see value. For me, Assassin's Creed Shadows, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do this with all Ubisoft games. Shout out to Ubisoft Plus. Ubisoft Plus is the greatest thing ever, because I'll pay the $15 for the month, beat Assassin's Creed, and then unsub, and then move on about my day. Because I'm never going to go back and replay these games. So I do this with all Ubisoft titles. I do this with EA titles, because shout out to PC, they actually give us the option to do that. But the value of owning that game is not for me, because I'm never going to replay an Assassin's Creed, right? I'm going to play it, enjoy it. I enjoyed Odyssey. Valhalla did run a bit long in the tooth, and I had my issues with it, but Valhalla was a fun time. But, as Shadows looks like it's going to be great, and it's like, yeah, sure. The thing is, I'll play it, but then I know for a fact, next year, in the Steam Summer Sale, that Assassin's Creed game is going to be 70% off in the Steam Summer Sale, and then I'll buy it when it's 20 or whatever, and then I'll be like, I own the game. So, and I do the same thing with Game Pass. Shout out to I wouldn't have discovered the beauty of Dragon Quest without Game Pass, because I've tried it. Game Pass.
But people, Death Singer, I understand that that's your experience, and I'm not trying to minimize your experience and how you consume. Most people don't do that.
They don't.
Most people are looking at a game like Assassin's Creed or Star Wars, and they're either saying, wow, that looks great, I have to buy that, or they're saying that looks bad and I'm not interested.
Right.
And then you've got the other small subset of people that will wait for a sale or will try it in a service and then buy it maybe, or whatever the case may be. Most people are buying the things they want. These mental gymnastics that we tend to do of how a consumer is going to go to a service and then do this and jump through hoops and this and that. And that. We're already seeing the subscription service bubble begin to burst within the entertainment industry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The price, they just emailed me last week that Max is going up again, and that shit went up last year.
Yeah. It's going to go up again
bubble,
next year.
That subscription service bubble is going to burst, and it's going to be bad because the indoctrination and the ideology of not wanting to buy games is going to hit you. Not you, Sing. When I say you, I mean in general here. Are going to hit people like a ton of bricks. because that shit is not going to be sustainable. People are going to buy the things that they want. People that saw Assassin's Creed Shadows are either going to buy it or they're not. People that saw Call of Duty are either going to buy it or they won't. Yes, you'll have a small percentage of people that will wait for a service and all that, but a lot of that stuff mostly is exclusive to
that's the truth.
Social media.
Nobody wants to hear that in our community, Singer. And like I said, you have friends. I have friends that I work with. They have a PS5. Like they're going to end up. They play Madden and they play Call of Duty. I say this every week, Singer. You heard me say it last week. Like when Call of Duty comes out this year, like they don't listen to the shows. They don't know who Chris Drang is or any of this stuff. They don't know any of this stuff. They don't know who Phil Spencer is. They don't care. Like they are going to buy Call of Duty for PlayStation 5. Like if I said to them, "Hey guys, you won't believe it. This is in Game Pass." They'd be like, "What's Game Pass?" Then second, they would be like, well, "How do I get Game Pass?" Well, you got to go buy an Xbox. So wait, I got to go buy another console? Yeah. And then it comes with the console? No, it doesn't come with the console. It's $16.99 a month. But I play. That's what they play all year. They're like, so I need to go spend $500 and then $16.99 a month, or I can go buy this at $70 day one, or I probably get it for $50 at Christmas. They're not doing that. Like that's reality.
It's like a cultural thing. Yeah, to go to Target, pick up the game for your family or for yourself.
Yeah,
and just take it home and play it for 6 months.
Right.
And it's hard to break that. It's going to take years. Like this, I think this year it'll still chart. I think Persona's right. The number of Game Pass subscribers will not increase dramatically. Now, if they're willing to just eat the cost of not having new subscribers, it may eventually go up, but I don't think it'll be in one release.
Well, I do think the numbers will go up, right? Because it is Call of Duty. So I do think the power of COD will have people subscribe to the service off the strength of that.
Game Pass will go up. Game Pass will go up. But will it go up, Persona, to astronomical, heights? I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think it'll be that dramatic, but I do think it will.
It'll definitely go up.
There will be an increase in numbers for sure.
100%.
But the thing is, I could never talk about it. I could only talk about my own situation. Like me personally, I buy games. Like Age of Mythology is being bought, Avowed is being bought, Gears is being bought, Doom is being purchased, Fable's being purchased, Indiana Jones is being purchased, Perfect Dark is being purchased. I might Game Pass South of Midnight because I personally am just curious, so I'll probably Game Pass that. State of Decay 3 is a purchase. So it's like I only use Game. Obviously, I can only speak for me, but I only use Game Pass to scope out things I'm unsure on. So I'm unsure on South of Midnight, so I'll scope it out on there, and then if I like it, I'll buy it because I could buy it at a discount on PC. So I never pay full price for games anyway because I don't have to. So everything's always on like a 15 to 20% discount at launch anyway. So, hey man.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Dessinger, like I don't want to give advice that costs the industry money, but I know you're in the UK. If you are about saving that money, another thing that works really well, especially if you beat your games in like 2-3 weeks, is buy the game. Obviously, get it on sale anyway, pre-order, get the physical copy, and then just do the trade-in with Computer Exchange. But they give you 1 week online. It's a free return postage. They give you 1 week to book in the return. So every few days you can just book it in, and it locks in the price for the next week. And sometimes I've done that, and a game has cost me £3. So
The thing is, it's like I know about it, but I never buy it. I never buy it.
If you're trying to save money.
Oh well, I save money across the board because, for one, I don't pay for online. Like that's how much savings that year. But then, obviously, all games release at 20. It's like I come back to when I bought Elden Ring and Dying Light 2. Now, both those games together would cost me 120, and it was the Dying Light 2 Deluxe Edition. I got both games for 90, right? So I just saved myself 50. And that's just the beauty of where I choose to play. So it's, and if I'm unsure of a game, Steam sales are just the greatest thing ever. Out of all the platforms, nothing can beat Steam in terms of sales.
So before we go down that alley, I want to say a shout out to the Wise Old Gamer. He had to leave. He says he's got to go pick up the boys from fishing, and I have to scale plus clean their catches. Unfortunately, they had a good haul. Sigh. He says, great show as always. The great Wise Old Gamer. Guys, go over and check out the Wise Old Gamer has an outstanding show on Friday nights. Wise with the Gamers, and honestly, I absolutely love his show. I was on a show, I think it was about, God, I have to say it was about 2 months ago now, and great to have him here. I appreciate it. I also have Damion, who says, shout out to my guy Persona, hit that like button. Shout out to Damion. And I also have one older super chat here. I do want to change subjects, that's why I'm going through these real quick. He says, the thing about, this is Spied Sal, he says, the thing about the Xbox Showcase is it never had a God of War or The Last of Us 2 moment. Perfect Dark was not it, and Gears was CGI. Xbox still can't land that console seller moment. So there's something to that. And I think a lot of people would say that super chat doesn't hold water because we saw Gears and we saw this and we saw Perfect Dark and we saw South of Midnight and we saw these games that were looking really, really great. Doom. But the thing about it is where was that new IP that you say, oh my God, I got to run out and get an Xbox? But then again, I don't know if we can say that anymore, right, guys? Can we say that that's really what they're going for, Roy? Right? I mean, I don't think Xbox is even trying to sell you on that.
Yeah,
no,
they're okay with the decline of sales.
Yeah,
you know,
because I think they would advertise for a title. I think they would spend a lot more money telling people, hey, like, I don't know. I'm just looking at a list here. Avowed. Like, is the campaign of advertising for Avowed going to be insane? We're going to see some billboards and things like this. I don't believe so.
Or why not make this at least timed exclusive? Why does it have to be like day and date on other consoles? I think that's kind of weird. I mean, that's really. I mean, if you have the one last saving chance to save your console brand, it would be to make it timed exclusive, right? But if it's not timed exclusive, it's like, well, that was the last straw.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think it might. I think it's probably because think about it, they've got like I think it's 39. I could be wrong, but it's like 38, 39 studios, right? And again, we've spoken about this before. An insane headcount, absolutely insane. Like just ABK added thousands, and if you look at the last two quarterly reports, because of sort of acquisition related carryover. ABK is actually making a loss. It made I think a 300 and something million loss this last quarter and a 450 million loss in the previous quarter, right? So when you've got literally thousands upon thousands, 10,000 plus like employees, at one point you're going to have to start clawing back money, right? Because what you're describing, how long will that take? How long will that change around and market shift take? And in the meantime, how much revenue are you gonna lose, right? Because if you suddenly your overheads have essentially 4x like in the last few years, something has to give, right? That return on investment has to start coming.
I'm going to say I had a lapse of memory there. Shout out to the Wise Old Gamer again. The podcast Wasted with Wise, Friday night, 6 p.m. Eastern. Go over and check him out. But, you make a good point there, Nib. I do want to say this much, though. Shout out to Mega Dave. Oh, he says, hi, humans, Xbox is, and then it's just a plus and a symbol. I don't know what that means, but shout out to Mega Dave. Oh, I want to switch subjects here, guys, for a second, because I only have so much time with you. And Persona, I'm going to you here first on this one because... I know that, and shout out to the great Jay Barry, by the way. I think Jay's still in the chat, so shout out to Jay. But Persona, I want to switch over to the Lego Horizon topic a bit. We touched on it earlier, but we kind of discussed it as a matter of fact, to what we were discussing as far as Xbox, and then we were like, okay, and we went back to the showcases. But when it comes down to it, Persona, the Lego Horizon, first of all, it's getting critical acclaim. Everyone seems to be liking it. It looks like it's going to be a smash success, but there's two angles of approach here, right? And I'll wait and give my opinion at the end. I want to hear what the panel has to say, but Persona, where are you on this when it comes to Lego Horizon going to Switch? And I know a lot of people are going to say also it didn't go to PS4. That's fine. You can touch on that as well. But the one thing that people are saying is this is another clear symbol that PlayStation is just going to go wherever they want, whenever they want, with whatever IP they have. And my only question to you is what do you think? Pardon me, two questions. What do you think about this whole thing overall? And if that was really the case, and this was just opening Pandora's box, why wouldn't they put it on an Xbox as well?
Mooch, you love making me out to be the villain, but I love being the villain.
I know you do, man.
You always ask these spicy questions because you know I'm gonna give you that smoke.
Yes, you are.
New York style.
Bring it.
New York.
Please, the show needs it. Yes.
Listen, shout out to my bro Bari, because Bari, I was listening. Me and Bari actually have been talking about this a lot, like behind the scenes, since it happened. He's talked about it a lot on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it in space. He talked about it on the show, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, for me, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not surprised anymore, man.
Right.
Like, it's one of those things where I'm like, listen, you gonna do it. You gonna do it, man. Like, PlayStation is moving into a third party realm. Like, people are making these weird excuses of, oh well, it's it's Lego's decision and all this BS. And I'm like, listen, I don't know what rock y'all been living under for the past 10, 20 billion years, but Lego does not have control over a PlayStation owned IP. It has to be a mutual decision, especially since the game that's being made is a PlayStation IP. So because it's a PlayStation IP, PlayStation would have more control over where it can and cannot go. And recent reports, that came out, I believe today or yesterday or whatever, that this came out earlier this week when the game got revealed. It's been co-developed with Guerrilla. So Guerrilla or a PlayStation studio also worked on the game as well, which further solidifies that this was a joint effort and a mutual decision by both parties. Looking at it from PlayStation, I'm kind of just like, I just believe it's weird that it's on a weaker hardware than a PS4. I get you want to move people to the PS5, and I agree with that. But something like this that you say is meant for everybody and can be played by kids and all this bullshit, there's people on PS4 that can't play this.
Right.
And in terms of the S-Boss, I'm not surprised. You understand? PlayStation is not, especially after that whole ABK deal and the courtroom stuff. Hell no. PlayStation is not playing nice. PlayStation doesn't need Xbox. Xbox needs PlayStation in regards to that. So I don't see PlayStation putting it out, at least as of right now, the foreseeable future. I don't see them doing that. But in terms of it on the Switch, it's like, okay, so what and this is a question I always ask, what do PlayStation fans get in return from the Switch? You ain't gonna get a Mario or a Zelda. You feel me?
Right.
So it's just really weird. It's really weird to see this dynamic happening, but I'm also not surprised that it's happening.
See, I'm not, and that's, so I'm glad you kind of put all those caveats out there, Persona. I mean, I agree with what you're saying there. And what do you get in return? Probably absolutely nothing. But I think when it comes down to it, you see Wolverine. Wolverine's not going to the Switch, right? I mean, Uncharted 5, if and when that ever comes out, that's not going to the Switch.
Well, no, but I do think that this is something that's been a topic of conversation this entire show when we were talking about test. I think this is a test. This Lego Horizon Adventures game is a test. It's a test of two things, in my opinion. It's a test to see if the interest is there for their IPs to be made in a Lego form, which I actually absolutely think it is, because as much as I'm like not feeling this decision that PlayStation is doing, I do think the game itself looks better than any Lego. This doesn't look like a normal Lego game to me. This definitely looks like a PlayStation fragrance Lego game. Very high quality, very beautiful looking. And honestly, I'm probably going to snatch it up, honestly.
Yeah.
But I do think this is a test to see if there's interest on other platforms like Nintendo for games like this using their characters. 1, 2, to see if, again, well, I guess it really is only one test, but they're testing the waters to see if there's an interest here for those family-friendly, some of them more hardcore franchises being made into a family-friendly game, like the Lego game. Kind of like what we're seeing with Astrobot. Astrobot is getting a lot of critical acclaim and a lot of success right now as well. And that game looks absolutely incredible. Can't wait for that. But that's also something where we may see PlayStation start to pivot and kind of bring out some more of those family-friendly games to get more eyes from the kids. And, maybe a PlayStation. Whatever the case may be. But I definitely think this is a test. And if it's successful, you're absolutely going to see more PlayStation IPs made into Lego games, like a Lego God of War. Could you imagine Kratos and Atreus?
Agreed.
That would be crazy. That would fly off the shelves if they did a Lego God of War game with Kratos and Atreus. That would be crazy. A Lego Last of Us. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I think Horizon is a good test. if it's successful,
oh yeah,
you're definitely going to see many more Lego games come out.
100%. And Seeds was saying that earlier. I agree with you, Persona. I agree with both of you guys on that aspect. But the one thing that, like, I just think that there may be a bit of overreacting. You don't think? I mean, I like, okay, so you just said it yourself. Mooch, if this is it, it opens up the gates. You're going to have Lego God of War, Lego Nathan Drake. Yeah, I'll say Lego any character you want off PlayStation, sure. But like, I don't think that necessarily means that you're going to get, because PlayStation has literally said during these financial statements, and Nib, you probably have them all documented, that, you know, they're looking for different avenues, but not losing track or losing focus on their bread and butter, which is the PS5 at this point in time, soon to be the PS6. So they're not gonna. Everyone jumps to conclusions immediately on Twitter, like, "Oh my God, there it is! There's that crack in the door." They're gonna just put everything on Switch, or they're gonna put that's not necessarily where they're going. I think it's a bit of an overreaction.
Oh, sorry, I didn't.
No, go ahead.
I thought you were finished. Yeah. I was just going to say, like, this is the irony, because on the one side you got people like, they're going multi-platform, they're losing focus on the PlayStation side. But the reality is, PlayStation is saying, no, we're doing this actually because we're trying to put more focus on the PlayStation. We're trying to use it as a Trojan horse to bring even a small number of Switch players over to PlayStation, or a small number of PC players over to PlayStation. So their sort of strategy in terms of the business ramifications is, how do we get them to come over here? But other people are saying, they're moving over, you know.
They're going over there, right.
It's actually the opposite intention.
The opposite, yeah.
You know, whether it will be successful or not, we'll have to wait and see. But I will say, you know, they've been trialing it now on PC, this staggered release thing, for like since 2020 or something.
Yeah.
So
do you remember,
they must have the numbers.
Nib, do you remember, Nib, you were on the show. You remember when they had the stand-in Jim Ryan? I can't remember, the CFO stood in for a bit until they put Herman Hulse. Yeah, Totoki. And he made a couple of comments that just alluded to expanding where they want to have it. Right? And everybody for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, they're like, that's it! They're going PC day and day, baby. It's like everybody jumps to that. I think company, you know, misery loves company. I don't understand why that literally happens.
Broken Gamer HD, I don't want to get too spicy, but Broken Gamer HD, he made a really funny video where he was like, I think people on certain sides really want everyone to be in the same situation as them.
They want everyone to be in the same spot. So they kind of
adopt. But I will say, like, even in the last business meeting, which was only a few weeks ago, right?
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
Herman Hulse, he was on, you know, he was actually talking. He was having a talk and a conference or whatever, and he reiterated in that conference, the PlayStation platform and console is our primary focus. And obviously the I forgot the name of the other gentleman now, and he mentioned the point about, we're bringing games to PC, we want them to go over to PlayStation, but we want to avoid cannibalization, which I clipped his quote and put a tweet about it. But yeah, again, the point is, like, I know the Twitter talk is they're doing exactly the same thing, but literally PlayStation is telling you they're not. They're telling you the intention is the opposite. It's to put more focus on the PlayStation, which I know it sounds weird, but you know, obviously.
Yeah, but the thing about that is, they're saying that, but the actions don't reflect that with this most recent release. And really then even I think isn't Astrobot also releasing day and date on PC?
I don't know about that.
No.
I was not. I
don't think so.
No, I thought it was.
No. It's Horizon, but the thing is, the actions don't match what they're saying. They're saying that, but then they're putting things on competing platforms like the Switch, which in turn is deterring someone from wanting to buy a PlayStation because the game can be played on where they're at.
Right.
So what they're again, I don't know. This is what Christopher Dring said in his article. So his whole thing was, the reason they're doing that is because, one, they want a younger generation.
I know. I read that article. I know why they're doing it, but I still don't agree, because you're not gonna. I don't think you're gonna get people to, because look at it from a PC perspective, right? PC, you got PC players telling you they'll wait. Now everyone isn't gonna wait, but you've got people that are saying that they're not going to buy a PlayStation. They're just going to wait for it to come to PC, or it should be day and date. You have a lot of people pushing that narrative now that it's more beneficial for them to release the games day and date, because they can maximize profits. That's the argument.
Well, I would say one of the things that I would look at, though, I would push back on that and say one of the things I would look at, though, is I don't think PlayStation is trying to capture obviously all, but if they can one of the gaming journalist guys ran a poll and it was like 21% said yes, I would buy a PS5. I am a PC user and I would buy a PS5 to play it early. That's all they want. So if they can capitalize on, I don't remember how many active Steam users there are right now. It's,
it's a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
Shit ton.
A lot.
Yeah, 100, let's say 130 million. If you capture 5 million, 10 million, let's go low side, capture 5 million. That's a win for them. And I think that, same on the Switch. You have 100 and some million Switch users. If you just capture 5 million by putting a game like Lego over there, or a Lego game over there, that's a win for PlayStation. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to, put that almost bait, if you will, to say, hey, check this out. If you want to experience more of this franchise, or maybe you really liked Aloy, right? But the other thing is that market that they're trying to appeal to, especially with the Switch, is heavy Asian market. That's different than what we see these guys on Twitter that are like, I would never, ever, buy a PS5. Well, when you look at the average specs, and granted, I give you that most PC players aren't going to do it, but when you look at the specs of the average PC user on Steam, it is lower than what a PS5 equivalent is. I think it's still in the 20 series. So
no, it's not. It's the 30 now.
See, but my thing is,
I don't think it's a 30 series yet. That's not the average.
No, it is. It is. The most. The thing is with that,
the average is way lower.
Yeah, Nib, pull out the facts, Nib Tanica. What is it?
Yeah. It's 75% of Steam hardware GPU users have a GPU that's less performant than PS5, and just 25% have a GPU that's more performant, and that is based on the PS5 equivalent being a 6700, which that's what
those values aren't necessarily true, because the hardware survey Steam uses is voluntary. You don't have to fill in that survey, so the numbers.
Then how do you know?
There aren't retrospective of. Well, it's the only measurement we have, right?
Yeah, but I would have thought people who have better hardware are more likely to fill out the survey, if anything.
It's an annoyance. I always click off it. I don't care. I'm like, why are you asking me this of me? I just want to play games. Like, I really don't care about your survey. Some people might. But
you
again, that number might necessarily be false, so you have to be careful with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best data we have, right? But the speeds, to your point as well, like say the number was 5 million, right? Say you managed to get 5 million people to transition over, according to the last business, slides, they make, so far, obviously it's going to go up as the generation goes on, but they make like $780 or something, $800 roughly per PS5 user, not including the hardware. Now, if you think the vast majority of people buy digital, obviously not everyone, and then they get a 30% cut on every single digital purchase, add-on, DLC, microtransaction game, etc., that those people who move over to the PlayStation ecosystem spend, it's such a bigger long-term revenue goal than just selling an extra game.
Well,
because
the extra game is just the bait that they're putting on the hook to try to capture and try to lure
you in. But let me ask
additional buyers.
Let me ask Persona, because Persona had he wanted a rebuttal, and Persona, I just asked you this question. So let's I'll buy in. So every character we know on PlayStation goes on a Lego and a game, and it goes to Switch. We've already heard Herman Hulst double down, triple down now, saying that the console's the priority. You can already see that 2025 has got game releases that are going to be only. I know we know Wolverine, and there's another one going to be PlayStation console only. So what I'm asking, and it's a genuine question. I really want to know, what do you think this does spiral into? You have the people in charge now for the foreseeable future. Herman Hulst is a young guy. He's going to be there for a while. This is what he's saying. We know that the games coming next year are not going to be going there. I don't think we'll see, like I said, Uncharted 5 or the next God of War going to Switch or anything day one. So, like, what?
Well, Mooch,
let me
ask you a question, Mooch, if I can. If I can ask you and Nib a question. I'm curious. Do you consider PlayStation a third-party publisher?
Well, so listen, you can never speak in absolute, so you have to say yes.
Yeah, so this is.
But they've been a third-party publisher since PS3.
Yeah, exactly. So they are technically a third-party publisher, and they have been for the longest time. However, if you want to talk about what the typical business is, or what the focus of the business is, then obviously they still prioritize exclusives on the hardware platform, etc. Even if we talk about Lego Horizon, it's a complete outlier, right? They have, I don't know what the library of exclusives is, probably 40 odd games or something, and and now this is the first one that has gone to Nintendo. So it's still an extreme outlier, and it isn't necessarily indicative of a widespread strategy across the board. Maybe it could be in future, we don't know, but I would say based on I honestly see Lego as a vessel to just broaden the exposure of PlayStation IP, because it's not really right.
But the thing, so I guess my question is, what is this a test for then? Right? Because if the test is just like with Xbox, right? If the test is successful, what is the next logical step?
To make another Lego game with God of War in it.
Yeah, I think they want to.
They've given us an insight, right? Because PlayStation, they made a tweet earlier today, and they said, "Can we get Aloy in Smash Brothers, please?" So I think they're trying to infect the mindset and the exposure of Nintendo players, like, oh, what are these IPs saying? What are these characters saying? Maybe people they don't have the knowledge base, or they haven't experienced it. They just want to kind of advertise their IP.
Because at the end of the day, if we're going to sit here, and we did podcasts for a year and a half with all these statisticians coming out and saying the console market is it's stagnant. It's stagnant. The PS5 will barely, if at all, match the PS4. If it'll beat it barely, right? So how is it they're supposed to make new customers? The only way to do that is to infiltrate the other platform. And so when Persona asked the question, this is a boring answer, and PlayStation fans don't want to hear it. When the answer was, what do PlayStation fans get out of it? They get out of it the fact that you hopefully get 5-10 million new customers, which makes your platform more money. I know nobody wants to hear it.
Okay. So here's a follow-up. Here's a follow-up question then. Yeah. Does Sea of Thieves releasing on PlayStation entice you to want to subscribe to Game Pass?
Does it for me? No. For others, probably. Maybe for
probably
some.
Not.
Probably maybe not. For some. I don't know. People I don't. For me, no. No.
I would also say that we have to refer over, when we're talking about this particular topic, we have to refer to some of the data that they showed. They showed a column of experimental games or experimental market. Correct. And so we will continue to see Sony or PlayStation as a whole use some of these IPs as experimental projects to collect that data. And so I think that when we look at PlayStation, I've always said that PlayStation, no matter how you slice it, they are a third-party publisher because they have been for many years. Now they are not a massive. That's not their priority in business, but they still do it. And I think that the way they broke it down in the data sheets of showing, kind of giving us the information, that roadmap, I think that this particular project of the Lego Horizon falls under the experimental. They want to put it over on Switch and see, hey, how many copies are sold? How is our IP over there taken? Do we see a conversion of people coming into the ecosystem? Do they come into the ecosystem and specifically buy or get into PlayStation Plus? Do they go in there? Do they download and play Horizon? They want to collect that data. And the only way to collect that data and absorb it and be able to know what you do next is to use these experimental projects like this and then collect the data as it flows in, because that's one of the things that a lot of people, we kind of touched on this many weeks ago about the PSN sign-in on PC. They want the data. The data is just, you can't put a number on that. And they have obviously done the figures to know the information they're going to collect on the users they can get access to far outweighs the sales that they would get from those non-PSN networks.
Persona, let me ask you a question real quick,
okay.
Persona.
Okay.
Is Nintendo a third-party publisher?
No.
They've published GoldenEye, and it's on the Xbox.
Yeah, but that's because Rare owns that IP.
I thought Nintendo owns the IP.
No, Rare owns it.
Rare owns it.
Rare owns
that IP.
Mario Rabbids, didn't they license that out, right? I think that was
they licensed that out, but Mario Rabbids is still only exclusively on the Switch. You can't play Mario Rabbids on any other platform but a Switch.
But at the end of the day, you have Horizon. That IP is owned by Sony.
PlayStation.
Right.
Yeah. But you can play that outside of a PlayStation.
Right, but you could play GoldenEye.
You don't need a PlayStation to play the Lego Horizon game, but you need a Switch in order to play Mario Rabbids.
But I could play GoldenEye on Nintendo and Xbox.
That's apples and oranges. That's
how?
Because that was a decision by Microsoft and Rare, and not by Nintendo.
Yeah, but you
Rare owns the IP.
You can play Mario on a cell phone though. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you can play Mario games on your mobile phone.
What Mario games are we talking about here? Like the old school.
Well, there's a Mario game on iPhone.
That's emulation, though. That's
not not just emulation. You can get Mario games on the mobile store.
Or Mario Run? What is it? Mario Run or something like that?
I can look up. Let me look up the name of it.
What are they saying? GoldenEye is owned by Rare, Nintendo, and MGM. Okay, well there you go. That's so they all have partial ownership.
That's what I'm saying. They had to have partial ownership. That's what I'm saying. Like, so it's just same.
Right now on my phone, I can get Mario Kart Tour, Mario Run. Those are the two that are on here right.
Yeah,
at the
Nintendo's
very top.
on Apple, but I mean, like, I'm just saying. So like, this is a situation where and I know people, Persona, I know you're not a fan of this answer. I'm just throwing these questions out there.
No.
Lego does have a say. I mean, they're not like nobody, right?
No, they're not nobody.
So
I
Lego had a say.
There, but
you're right that Sony had a say. You are right. I'm not taking that away from you. I'm just saying there's a lot going into this.
How does it look? Like how does it look? Lego coming to PlayStation and say, yeah, we're going to take your IP and put it where we want. That doesn't even make sense.
No. Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? That's the point.
Right. Capogas, I don't get the point.
My thing is, what's to stop PlayStation again from putting games on the Xbox now? Like, on more games everywhere.
Well,
like,
I think
this whole thing, because again, it's the same thing with this conversation of when we were talking about it with Microsoft, right, or with the Xbox, where it was a test. They were testing the waters. They were trying to see where it is. And then now you've got Phil Spencer on stage telling you, we're going to be bringing more things are coming and this is XYZ or whatever. What's to stop PlayStation from doing that as well? All these tests that we keep seeing and people keep pushing back and saying, well, it's not that big a deal. And it's like, okay, in the interim, it's not that big a deal. But when you're looking 2 years, a year, 3 years or whatever down the line, it becomes a much bigger deal because they're seeing, okay, we're seeing the success. We have to keep this going or we have to ramp this up.
I would say the number one answer to that is there is not enough saturation in the market to make that make sense for them to go to Xbox. But when you look at the Switch saturation, you look at the PC saturation, there is enough for them to make that transition and put those particular games over into those markets. If Xbox would happen to have some massive surge of where they're just hundreds of 100 million consoles, which I don't see that happening, then I think we would be having a very different conversation. But I think when you look at the numbers of saturation, it doesn't make sense for them to do that to the brand because there is not the not the saturation market there for them to do that as there is with the Switch. Nintendo and PlayStation, they don't really look at themselves as competition, right? Like they don't really. Their style of games don't really butt up against each other, so they're able to do that. Same with the PC platform. So at the end of the day, to answer your question, nothing would stop them. Mm-hmm. I just don't think that they would unless there was a massive explosion of those consoles.
So if they don't look at each other as competition, should we expect to see the next Zelda on PlayStation as well?
That would be I don't think so. Yeah, but that would be a call for Nintendo. But I doubt it. I doubt that Nintendo would do that.
But we have to wait.
Why wouldn't they put it on a platform that isn't their competition though?
I think it boils down to risk factor, right? Risk factor of cannibalization, because the executives keep using this word cannibalization. So it's like, okay, so say you mentioned about Xbox. Xbox is by far the smallest market share, right? So you gain a small, tiny semblance of sales, but the risk factor is high because then you could cannibalize PlayStation ecosystem adoption, where you don't just lose a PlayStation consumer, you lose a lifetime of 30% cut. And I think that's why Nintendo is cognizant of not putting IP on other platforms, because they don't want you to then not buy a Nintendo hardware. They already have higher profitability on the hardware.
Not just
anyway.
that, but Nintendo is reliant. They're reliant on their console sales to survive. Xbox clearly doesn't care.
They actually
PC.
make far more profit than all of the platforms because they have such a high volume of first party sales, right? Whereas the other platforms, the high performance platforms, they lean on multi-platform to a bigger extent, and obviously the 30% cut is not equivalent to 100%. But I think PlayStation, they're doing this balancing act where it's like, how do we increase our sales without cannibalizing our platform? And they're trying to find that right balance now. Maybe you disagree, others might disagree, maybe this isn't the right, and maybe this will lead to a dilution of the platform.
It could,
but I think the way they're doing it, in the kind of limited aspect, even with Lego, it's not even Horizon they're putting on Nintendo, it's Lego Horizon. And then with the PC games, with the 2 years, Sean Layden said on your podcast, actually, it's a great podcast, by the way, if you guys haven't listened to it, really cool. He says even in that they didn't want to trade a PlayStation sale for a PC sale. They wanted to have additive sales only, right? They want to bring people over to the PC house, and it sounds like that is still the strategy that they're adopting.
It does seem like it's a similar strategy.
Really quick,
go ahead, Kofi.
Just to play devil's advocate, I think with Persona do you think that PlayStation has forgotten the type of brand loyalty that they've built over the years? They have been publishing games on or owned IPs that have gone to other platforms for a long time, like you guys discussed. Like I think of what was the game that was narrative driven? They made Detroit Become Human.
Yes.
Anyway, you get what I'm saying. So I think what I'm trying to get at is, if they somehow let go of the belief that they can continue to sustain a brand loyalty of having tentpole IPs only on the hardware, at least within a certain time frame, I think they've already lost. But I don't think that they've let go of that, even though that we are seeing this Lego title go elsewhere. Do you believe that?
So I think when it comes to what Jim Ryan has said before, and funny enough, in an interview with Chris Dring, I think it might have been 2 years ago, the 15 or 20 million sales that they see with a lot of their big tentpole titles, they said is not, they want to see more than that, which is why you're seeing more of their bigger titles going to other platforms much quickly. If this was 2 generations ago, you wouldn't have thought that an Uncharted or a Last of Us that was coming out on PS3 would be going to PC. But now here we are 2 generations later, and it's almost a given. It's expected that these games will release on PC, if not day one, at some point. So I think when we're talking about PlayStation and the moves that they're making now with bringing things to a Nintendo platform, it's the same thing with how they move. How I view it is how they did it with PC. It's a test, and if the test is successful, what is the next logical step? It's the same conversation we were just having with Microsoft, right? The PlayStation wants to see more sales, more money. They want to grow that revenue stream even more, and they've said themselves they want to go outside of the PlayStation to do that.
Persona, the thing is,
by any means necessary.
2 generations ago, I wouldn't have thought 2 large pizzas with 1 topping apiece was $57, but it is today. My point being with that, right, is that things cost a hell of a lot more, and we keep hearing all of these people. We all say it. We do videos on it. We talk about it. Everything costs more. So what they're trying to do right now is they're trying to look. It's like, if anything, if your household isn't doing well and you want to get more money in there, what do? You need to find another form of income. But at the same time, you don't want to cannibalize your platform and hurt your brand. There's things they're going to do, like you said just a moment ago, bringing games to PC 12, 24, 36 months later, depending on the game, okay? They're going to bring live service games day and date, because a live service game is only as good as the amount of players in there. These are things that are all givens. These are knowns in any kind of equation. And now what they're actually saying is, we've learned how to get some money from the PC area. The Xbox area is not really worth their time for making games for, because it's a smaller base. Nintendo's large. How do we start to get that money? This is an avenue to do it. Again, you're not going to see Nathan Drake's new game, Uncharted 5 over there. You're not going to see the next God of War. You're not going to see Spider-Man 3 over there. But are you going to see certain things like that? They have to make up this delta. It doesn't matter. We all do it in our homes. If money's tight, you get another job. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Always been working 2 jobs, working hard. They're finding that other revenue.
Xbox presents a great use case for PlayStation, actually, and for Nintendo, because they can analyze their data and see, okay, how have these strategies played out? And I've said it in your previous podcast, where when Xbox adopted their PC day date strategy from 2016, I think it was Quantum Break, Gears, and a few other titles. And as I said, if you look at the revenue growth from 2016 to today, the revenue growth from PlayStation and Nintendo far outweighs Xbox, and which is funny, right? You'd think, okay, they've added 130. Well, I think Phil Spencer, he said PC gaming, the potential PC gamers that might buy an Xbox was 650 million. He said, obviously on Steam there's 140 million, but that's the number Phil Spencer gave. But you'd think by adding an install base of 130 million plus, it would make a substantial difference to your sort of software sales performance and charting. But yet again, like 2 games in the last decade plus have charted year to date in Sakana. Even with PC sales now, it's still not really making that much of a difference. And I guess part of that is the cannibalization from Game Pass. But the larger point I'm trying to make is, when you start getting a transition towards PC from console, like Xbox has seen, even though you are getting additional sales, you're losing that 30% margin, and you're losing 30% to Steam. And I think that's one of the reasons why, even though Xbox has added a massive install base to every single game that they sell by selling on PC day, they haven't actually made that revenue increase in the way that Nintendo and PlayStation have. And funnily enough, the platform that is focused on exclusives and their platform the most is the one that has seen the highest revenue growth. These could be off by a few percentages, but if I remember the last time I checked, from 2016 to today, to the last fiscal year, it was Nintendo had seen revenue growth at 167%. That number I remember. PlayStation's was 90-something percent, and Xbox's was in the low 60s. So they're quite, and we're talking. PlayStation's growth was already on a much higher number, so that growth is actually more impressive.
I love it when Nib has those. He's got his fact sheet out there.
I will actually correct Nib on one thing. Though,
go ahead.
Did say it wasn't the 30 series. If you look in the DMs real quick on Twitter, you will see what I said. It's the 30. 30 series is the more popular card now. It's overtaken the 1650 and it's been that way for a while. So I wasn't talking about single cards. I'm talking about the totality. So when I say 75% of people have a GPU less performant than a PS5, I'm talking about adding every single percentage of every single GPU available on the survey added together. So when I say 25% of people have a card more performant than the PS5, I'm talking about the 3080 plus every single other card that on Tech Power Up is above the 6700. Oh, if you're combining all the cards, fair enough. But the 3060 is still the more popular card. So people are
individually. It might be, but I'm talking about the total, the including every card there is.
Yeah, I mean, I see it, but again, you don't. I mean, you got options. So.
Well, let me do this, guys. I want to get a speed round in with you guys real quick. I have a couple of questions here, and these are the fun ones real quick. You guys can actually answer quick. You can go with a couple quick sentences or divulge in if you want. I got a couple super chats, and then I'll go to the speed round. Shivanshu Praise, he says, what if Game Pass price goes up? Is it still worthwhile? And the moment you unsubscribe, you lose everything, especially if you only play on Game Pass. So, we talked about that a bit earlier, Shivanshu. I appreciate that. Babor Country's here. The great Babor. He says, the singer guy. So you got a fan here, or we'll find out, singer. Babor says,
plenty of fans in the chat.
He says, how much does your PC cost? You like that, singer? He goes, I pay $79 for Plus. That's a game Aloy on Nintendo. Disgusting. He's not happy about it. They're going to kill their console business. Babor, you're so serious. I love Babor. Jonathan, thank you for subscribing. Digital Dude 25 says Lego Horizon could fail, and then that'll be it. I don't think it'll fail. I really, really, really don't think it'll fail. Let's go to the speed round here, guys. And Persona, as usual, putting you on the hot seat here because I believe you finished the game, and I'm not sure, but I think you platinumed the game. I'm talking about Elden Ring.
Oh yeah.
So I love asking this question. This is wild. It doesn't bother me, but I want to hear if it bothers you. The Elden Ring DLC locked behind game progression. Is this a smart move, Persona?
Yeah, good. Play the goddamn game, man.
Yo, he
Absolutely.
said, I don't care about you. Finish it.
Absolutely. Play the goddamn game. How you gonna jump into a DLC and not understand what led up to play the goddamn game?
Play the damn game. You got to add that to your solo cast when you say you could be coming home from work. You got to be like, if you're not playing the game, don't play the DLC, please.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? For real.
Play the goddamn game, man.
Play the damn game.
I support that 100%.
Yeah. Okay. So guys, you just said that. You heard it. Persona set the bar. Anybody disagree with that, or everybody agrees that the DLC, because you have to defeat two of the major characters in it. It's Moog and I want to say Radon. And
no, I thought it was Malekith. Was it Radon?
No,
I thought it was Malekith.
It's Moog. No, it's Moog.
Oh, it's Moog. Okay.
It's Moog. Okay, so you have to defeat them to do. Is anybody?
Oh, you got to fight Radon.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think that this is this? I mean, Persona makes a point. How can you go and say I want to play more of the game, but you didn't finish the game? Do you guys agree with that?
I mean, I
there's a lot of Xbox players who won't be able to play this.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you don't have.
Nib, you just got clipped.
The thing is, though, you don't have to beat the game. You just have to beat Radon and Moog. Radon is heavily nerfed compared to when he was first released.
That is true. He
is.
So,
he is?
Yes.
Oh, man. I'm glad I beat him pre-nerf.
Yeah, they nerfed him. If you beat him pre-nerf, he was super hard. But yeah, they nerfed him because people were struggling on Radon. But obviously, it's a lot easier now if you went into it. And if you're right, you just have to find those two characters, beat them, and then you have access. So it's reasonable.
It is,
first of all, beat the game.
First of all, it is reasonable. But I mean, do you think that? I mean, like you said, so Nib made that point. I don't have the exact numbers. I think PC completion was 36%. Guys, I'm a little off here. PlayStation 5 was around 34%. And Nib, do you have the numbers in front of you? I think Xbox completion was 17%. I believe. Am I in the ballpark?
You could be right. Last time I checked, it was lower than that, but I don't have the up-to-date number.
Okay, I thought I saw those as of yesterday. I don't have them in front of me. They were not very hard to commit to memory. I think it was 36, 34, 17. So, I mean, there is that point. Your boy Roy, what do you think about that? I believe, Roy, you're an Elden Ring fan. I don't want to put you on the seat there, but are you?
I am. It's my least favorite of the Souls. I'm with Persona. You got to play the game to earn it.
All right, I'm going to go to Kofi here, but Kofi being the games guru that he is, I don't see him arguing with Persona tonight.
Yeah, so I haven't spent enough time with Elden Ring to even give an opinion. I'll be honest, a lot of the Souls games, I get pulled in the Team Ninja direction. I'm just really into like Neo, and eventually I'm going to be doing Rise of the Ronin. But I love the idea. To me, it's From Software getting more freedom to design a DLC they really wanted, as opposed to being afraid that it'll sell and saying, oh, we just got to make sure it's available to everybody so that they buy it. So I love that.
Yeah.
It's just like the difficulty conversation, right? We're not going to give you another difficulty. You're either playing it and you're going to be good, or you ain't.
Or you're not.
Right.
Or you could just be a mage and cheese the entire game.
You know, and so I'm glad you said that, Singer, because when I'm going through right now, I did not. I said I'm going to be a knight, and I actually picked the samurai, and samurai is awesome, dude. Absolutely a phenomenal choice with the katanas. Absolutely phenomenal.
Listen, samurai with that dexterity build with the blood sword.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Or actually, instead of a mage, you could just get a friend to help you. Shout out to some of the Souls players.
Well, absolutely. Yes.
You could just invite them into your game, and they could beat the bosses.
Shout out to Blaze 4K, who's gonna. Hopefully, he's able to join me this Saturday and Sunday when we stream more Elden Ring. But I do want to say though that I agree with you. I think you guys make great points. Real quick, a hot seat. I'm trying to think of who to go to for this one here. I'll go to Death Singer because it's a PlayStation topic as of today. But Death Singer's on it 24/7. Discord has finally made its way to PlayStation 5. Now, pardon me. Let me rephrase. It's on PlayStation 5. I use it all the time. But it has now become more easy access where the Discord is actually, I believe you put your servers on there, you log in, and then you just click on the Discord logo the way Xbox has it, and then you can just pick and you go right into the chat with friends. So, Death Singer, how important is this for Discord to finally be available on PlayStation 5 the proper way versus the elongated way you had to go through? I use it every single day with my friends on Warzone. I have a buddy of mine on Xbox and the rest are on PlayStation, so we always get on Discord, but you have to go onto the app, go into your server, you have to kind of scroll up and then say join on PlayStation, and then if you have one or two consoles, pick the right console, and then you're in the headset. Now you can do it all from the console. You don't need the phone. What do you think about this?
It's really important for crossplay if you want to play with your friends. Like, let's say if I wanted to play Call of Duty with Persona, right? Persona's going to be on PlayStation, and I'd be on PC.
Yep.
And, the only way we'll be able to communicate is through an app like Discord. So it's important to bring connectivity together and welcome everyone to a free chat service. You are welcome. And, it's critical for PC because this is like the ultra-optimal way to actually speak. But it's good that, consoles now have the ability to communicate across the platform. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, has anybody tried the new Discord as of today on the panel? I have not yet. I got home from work.
It's not available yet. It's going to roll out over the coming weeks. The update hit, but the actual Discord is not there yet.
Oh, really? Okay, thank you for the update, Persona. The way I read it with the update, it said it was in there, so I guess it's baked in, but we still can't utilize it.
Yeah, it's going to roll out over the coming weeks, so probably next week or something like that. We should expect that. Yeah, they did. Yep.
Well, I don't know. Well, me for one, I don't know about you guys on the panel or the chat. You heard Death Singer. I myself personally love it because I definitely have people playing Warzone that are on PC. A few of my friends on Xbox, a few of my friends on PlayStation, and it's nice. We just made our own Discord and a chat room, and it's worked great. This making it so I don't have to go onto the phone and do 3 or 4 steps to get to it. And on the Xbox, it's a lot easier. The reason I asked was I just didn't know if it was going to be as convenient as the Xbox. The Xbox is very convenient to use Discord. I hope that it is literally a 1-for-1, if not better, on PlayStation. I hope. We'll find out soon enough. That being said, guys, what an outstanding show. I kept these guys for 2.5 hours. Go ahead, Roy. You got something, Roy? Go ahead.
Yeah, when I'm on the show, you're going on the hot seat.
Oh, let's go.
When is the capital city gonna fall?
The capital city is going to fall, so we're gonna I'm going in there to take care of what I have to take care of as far as regular business, as far as bosses and things like that. That's gonna be Monday night.
Okay.
That'll be Monday night because I'm going in and finishing up the areas that I'm in now, and I have to fight Radon, and then I am going into the capital city. Shout out to the great Sim Vendetta, who's also told me. Then you go into the capital city, and he said we'll take care of the capital city Monday and Tuesday night.
Nice.
So I'm cutting it very close to the DLC.
I can't wait, and it's kind of like, I think you're in the same boat as me. I prefer the linear ones. It is more of a linear level, and I think you'll appreciate it.
Yep.
Honestly, though, once I got done with the capital city, I was kind of mentally done with the game, and there's still a decent chunk.
There's a lot left. There's the whole north. So I know I got my work cut out for me, guys. And hey, listen, that's one of the things, and I don't want to keep these guys any longer, but as you guys can see on screen, I've gone back. I'm playing through It just depends on the night and the mood. Do you guys do that? I know Persona, I always see that you're very dedicated to a game. And like when you're dedicated to a game, Persona, like you don't like lose focus. You finish that game a lot of the times. Not to say you don't play others, but like I went back and now I'm like hooked on the rest of, I want to finish up Alan Wake 2, right? I'm still getting through Stellar Blade. I want to play Elden Ring. Like so, and
I think you need to put all those games down and finish Stellar Blade.
See, I knew you were gonna go there. First of all, I'm enjoying every minute. I'm enjoying every minute of that game.
My, you know what's funny though? I'm gonna be honest, man. Like like Mooch, I'm in the gym heavy, so and like doing a lot of other things in personal life. But it's like there's actually even for me, there's too many games out and too many games releasing the rest of this year.
Yeah,
that I know personally, I cannot keep up. Like right now, I'm playing through Octopath Traveler 1 on PlayStation. Working on that platinum. Damn. But it's like, I really cannot keep up. I still have to finish Rise of Ronin. Monster Hunter Stories 1 and 2 released this week. Elden Ring, Tree, like all this other stuff. Like it's too much. And then Assassin's Creed is releasing later this year. Star Wars, Black Myth Wukong. I want to play that.
August 20th,
Concord, Astrobot. What's this other game? It's a ton of Yeast 10. Finally, Kofi stand up. Yeast 10. Yeast 10, boy. Bro, I've been wanting that since last year. So Yeast 10.
Yes.
Yeast 10 coming out later this year. It's just it's too much, man.
The thing is, I share Persona's thing about this because I looked at it and I was like, so I need to play all these games. I have Tales of coming up, the new Tales of game. Super excited. And then
what Tales of me?
Metaphor, like it's crazy.
The new Tales of game coming out.
Really? I didn't see that.
Yeah,
wait, what Tales of game?
No, I didn't see nothing about the Tales of.
Trails.
Oh, Trails. Okay, yeah, I'm like a self-voluntary ambassador for Trails. So.
Yeah,
I thought you said Tales. I'm about to say I would have known if a new Tales of game was dropping. Hold up.
I said Trails because I'm absolutely in love with it, and I can't wait to go to Calvert and all that. I'm not gonna gush over the details.
Well, I just want to say really quick. I love that game. You're gonna be so happy.
I can't wait because it's gonna
Kofi,
be...
you might take my JRPG card if I tell you this, man. I've never played a Trails game before.
Oh
wow!
I will buy you a game. I will buy you.
No, I own them all. I got the Trials of Cold Steel games. I bought them on PS4, and I was like, I gotta really sit down and play the series. I just haven't gotten to those games yet. Yeah, I know.
Okay, all right.
But also to the time problem, right? I just take September, right? Age of Mythology Retold, September the 4th. Stalker 2, September the 5th. Space Marine 2, September the 9th.
Space Marine 2 is crazy.
Thing is, I can't. In September, there's those 3 games. How?
You talking about that's Warhammer 40K, right? The Space Marine.
Space Marine 2. Yeah.
Yo, that looked really good. I was actually pretty interested in probably picking that up.
I agree, man. It's really good. Yeah.
It's very visceral. Very Gears of War-ish, like I compare it to Gears of War and the visceral, just blood and guts and everything. Fantastic game, but those 3 games all come out between September the 4th and 5 days. I got 3 games releasing. Something's gotta give.
Yeah, how do you do it? What do you pick, Singer? What do you pick?
Well, no, I already know. Like for me, I already know what games are gonna kind of fall through the cracks and which aren't. Like I know, like. Yeast 10, that's getting played in Platinum. Assassin's Creed, Star Wars, Black Myth, Concord, Astrobot. Those games are kind of those are going to get played and put a lot of time. Call of Duty, if it's good, stuff like that.
The thing is, as well, what I find
that was 2024.
What's that?
What game was that?
Right.
Indiana. When the hell is that game?
Okay.
That's coming out this year.
In November.
Indiana Jones is another one. I'm gonna play through that.
Is that November?
But that's supposed to be
December.
It's probably gonna be November. It's probably gonna be November.
Because
they said November, but then they took it back. So
didn't Avowed leak to November?
For November, yeah.
Yeah, November 12th.
So it's like we got in. It's like where are we fitting in Indiana?
Maybe Indiana will be October.
I think Indiana will be December. It'll either be September or December. It'll be September or December.
You got Stalker in September. Avowed, if that leak was true, November. You got Call of Duty in October.
Which is October.
Yeah. I'm thinking early December.
Yep.
The thing is, you could put it in.
I was just going to say, did you platinum Rebirth?
Not yet. That's another one that
Yeah, that's
I'm closing in on Rebirth. I'm closing in on 200 hours now in this game, and I still have not started my hard mode playthrough.
Oh,
I still got to because I've been doing a lot of level grinding. I've been doing a lot of materia level grinding and stuff like that, and now I'm going through Chadley's stuff, and now I'm doing Gilgamesh's Island. And listen, man.
Yep.
Listen.
Wow. You guys are giving Persona anxiety with all this.
No, honestly, like I'm gonna try to platinum Rebirth before the end of this year. But and then I wanted to platinum Final Fantasy 1 through 6, the Pixel remasters on PlayStation. I don't have time, man. I really don't have time, man. I just can't play everything.
Not with all those games you just mentioned. How are you supposed to get through all
even
those?
Even with the games I mentioned, I'm probably not going to have time for all that. I'm not going to have time all that either.
The thing is, I made a point. There are games I will drop. There's 3 specific games. As soon as they release, I have to play them day 1 and beat them. It would be Avowed, Metaphor, Trails, and Space Marines 2. Because Space Marines 2 is going to be a fantastic time, and that leads me then to the multiplayer. But they're the games I'll drop everything for. So I assume our Stalkers go into the wayside. I'll play that when it's a downtime. But it's like...
But even like Metaphor, and then Life is Strange Double Exposure, Max Schofield, I got to see how that story continues. I'm a big Life is Strange fan. More specifically, Life is Strange 1 and Life is Strange Before the Storm with Max and Chloe. I love those 2 games.
Persona, how many are there? How many are there right now?
There are 4. So there's Life is Strange 1 with Max, Life is Strange Before the Storm, which is Chloe's story, Life is Strange 2 with the 2 brothers, and then you got Life is Strange True Colors with I forgot shorty name. So there's 4 games, and then you've got Life is Strange Double Exposure, which comes out this October, which will be with Max's story. This is a continuation for her, which I'm a big Max fan. I gotta play that. So, it's like, and that comes out October 29th, 4 days after COD. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, man? Come on, man.
This is gonna be crazy.
There's too many games this year, but also it's why I.
This year too.
The same thing is this is a tangent. When people say it's a dead year, I brought this shout out to Scumcast and Luca every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Little plug there. The thing is, if you think it's a dead year, you may need to broaden your horizons on the genre of games you play, because I play a vast genre. Granted, there's one genre in particular I dislike, but everything else I play. And I am just swamped in games every year. Like, I never have a dry year. There's never a year going, there's nothing to play.
Yeah.
So maybe you might want to broaden your horizons a bit.
I think games are too long now as well, right? Because even Baldur's Gate 3 took me like 200 hours. I was like, what?
Facts.
Like, I don't think games are too long. I just think it depends on the genre, right? Because like something like an RPG, I expect that to be a longer experience as opposed to like an action adventure. If an action adventure is like 15 to 20 hours, I don't really see that as an issue, or even like 25 hours.
That's not long at all.
The Final Fantasy games like back in the day were like 40 to 70 hours. I think that's a good amount for an RPG. But don't get me wrong, I loved Rebirth, but I just felt it was a tiny bit long in the tooth. Like 180 hours, 170. To be fair, I was doing loads of the side quest stuff and everything.
Yep.
And all the. But for me, it was just a bit too much. Maybe if they just took off like 20%, 25% content off the top, I feel like it would, the pacing of it and the focus of it would be a little bit stronger for me personally.
Well, you can always, I do agree with Nib to a certain point. You could just tidy up a little bit, and make it a bit shorter. I know Persona, you're probably saying hell no way, but like
absolutely, I'm saying hell no.
I mean,
absolutely.
Some of the content in that game I would never cut, but
sometimes
when I see Chadley, I go, oh no,
that goddamn Chadley, man.
I think for me, what it was I didn't really know, because some of the side quests and stuff are like really, really interesting, but I didn't have that where I could tell which one would be and which one wouldn't. So I was like, I'm just going to do all of it. And I kind of, that was an issue with Forbidden West as well, whereas like there was so much content. I think that took me 100 something hours. But again, like I get it. There's loads of people who love that kind of stuff. So I don't want to be selfish and say, because
I think the thing for me is like, at least how I am, like games that I really, really love, I tend to want to platinum them. So like for me, the time in that game is going to be longer than what somebody who just cares about finishing it. They'd be like, like, oh yeah, the game's only 15 hours for me, and it's like, oh yeah, for me it's 50 hours because I'm going for the platinum. So a lot of the games that I mentioned, like Assassin's Creed Shadows, Astro Bot, Black Myth Wukong thing, I'm going for platinums and those. So my time is going to be like 100 plus, depending on the game or how long it takes. And so it's like, when you're doing that in trophy hunting and trying to play all these other games, you kind of have to put a lot of things to the side because you want to focus on that one platinum. Same thing with Final Fantasy.
That's right.
If for me, Final Fantasy would probably take the rest of the summer. I don't want to dedicate the whole summer to get the Final Fantasy platinum.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, I'll just slow roll in.
Shout out to Bari. Bari got the platinum. I don't know how he did that. God
bless
Bari.
You know how he did it, Mooch? I'll tell you, because me and him talked on the phone a lot. The man, that's all he played for 2 goddamn months. That's why.
Like, that's a secret.
That's all he played. And when I seen him going through that, I was like, I want to get the platinum, but I'm not trying to dedicate 2 months, bro. Like,
Bari's one of my only friends on PlayStation that uses the busy locator, so that way you have your friends that are active online, your friends that are offline, and then in between it says busy. Bari was on that busy right there for a minute.
Bari's got like 300 hours.
Yeah, he was like, "Don't bother me. I'm playing this game right now."
Hey, Mooch, you know what's crazy? I love RPG so much. I'm a masochist, right?
Yeah.
Because I went from Starfield or Baldur's Gate 3 to Starfield or Starfield to Baldur's Gate. Like, I would do these long ass RPGs. Back to back, but that's because that is my ultimate favorite genre.
That's your love in gaming.
I can sit in that world. If the world is interesting, that's why I have so much love for Avowed and Obsidian. Because every time I step into an Obsidian game, I'm in love with the world, the NPCs, the conversations, the characters. Everything's interesting. Like, sure that you have the odd fetch quest, but that comes with the territory. But like, everything is interesting, so I can sit in that world and play it. It's like with the Trails of Cold series. I am actually replaying it through right now before the new Trails game comes out officially. So I'm going through all. I'm already nearly done with Trails of Cold Steel 1. I've got like 500 hours in it now because I've replayed the series so much.
God, 500 hours.
Oh, God bless him. He knows. He's converted.
I
no.
That.
Don't look my playtime on the Trails game because it's going to be embarrassing. And please don't look.
So, another one that I was actually going to get today, and then I realized my wife will probably hit me on the head with a frying pan because she's got like Destiny 2 PTSD. Because I used to play Destiny 2 at night, and she could hear me talking, and she'd like come in like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like, I'm trying to finish this raid, and she's like, "Who gives a shit about the raid?" but yeah, it's the final shape. Like the final shape, the reviews are like outstanding. I think 93
right now.
Yeah, 93. When I checked, the last Bungie game to hit in the 90s like that was Halo Reach 14 years ago.
Wow. Shout out to Bungie, man. Bungie, people were talking so much shit about Bungie. What it was about 6 months ago. They went to work. They went to work.
They did. I feel bad because obviously they have clearly been through the ringer. Recently, and the layoffs are terrible.
Absolutely.
But then it goes back to this like studio management thing, because I know like even Totoki, he was publicly scolding their management, right?
Yep.
He was saying their efficiency is not good, and then they basically had this executives go over there and micromanage. And I know there was, I think it was Jason Schreier or something, he put out an article saying they risk losing autonomy if they don't get things on track.
Yep.
And then they come out with this, and it's like, damn, like whatever managing and whatever Sony did over there, after the release of I can't remember what the last one was. It reviewed really poorly, like 60 or 56 or something.
Lightfall?
Lightfall, yeah. And then they come out with this. Imagine going from Lightfall to this. It's just insane.
It really, really is. And listen, that's a success story. Those are those turnaround stories you like to see happen. So shout out to Bungie and everybody that's enjoying Destiny 2. From what I hear from the Destiny 2 folks, it is not the end of Destiny by no means, from what I'm hearing. No spoilers at all, but I don't know. That's what I heard. I'm going to play through. I know Persona, that's another thing. Not to go back to Persona in his list of games, but I haven't started Final Shape yet, but you have, I believe, Persona. Incredible. And I hear nothing but good things. Nothing but good things.
Yeah, I finished it. It was good. It was
What
great.
would you rate it, Persona?
9 out of 10. It was a great story, a great finish to a 10-year journey, and I loved it. I streamed out my whole hard mode campaign playthrough. It was really good.
Yeah, Persona. Did you? Is the raid? Is there a raid out?
Yeah. The raid is out.
Okay.
That's what I'm kind of grinding light a little bit, and that's the thing. Like I want to do the raid and kind of like do the raid, and then I'm kind of like done with Destiny like entirely because I can't devote that much time to like one game like that anymore. Like I just can't. I don't have that type of time.
No.
I feel Persona with that. That's the reason I dropped Elder Scrolls Online. Now I'm gonna release a number, and no one judge me.
Nobody judge me.
Go on.
No, nobody judge me.
This is a safe place. Trust me, Singer.
There's a little game called Elder Scrolls Online. Right?
Yeah.
What if I told you I had 8,000 hours in that game?
I don't think anybody here would bat an eye to not believe you.
8,500 hours.
Pretty impressive.
Since its launch.
I mean, ESO's been out for like 9 years, so that's not
Persona.
That's not really surprising because even for me, a hardcore game that I used to play was DC Universe Online.
Oh yeah,
I put. Listen, your boy put time into that back during the PS3 gen, boy. Let me tell you.
This is why I don't play MMOs, man. Like I know I have a compulsive nature. If you put me on an MMO, you won't be able to pull me away. So I just stay away.
I was gonna say you got people that have put like 25, 30,000 hours in WoW and stuff like that. 8,000 ain't shit. That ain't
what do you guys think about Doom? Yeah. I would like to see a little bit more gameplay.
Doom look great.
Real
talk. I'm gonna go back and finish Eternal because I didn't finish Doom Eternal, so I'm gonna go back and finish that before this new Doom comes out.
No, not Doom. Yes, Doom absolutely look great. I'm talking about
my fault. I can't hear. I'm getting old. My fault, guys.
I mean, it's not the same.
Dune. You talking about Dune?
Yeah,
Dune.
Dune. Okay.
That's gonna be an MMO. But it's like where
I'm good on that.
Yeah, I'm good on that. I'm good on that.
No.
Exactly.
It's going to be a survival game, so I'm unsure how this is going to play out because they call it. Like, I'm curious because it's like from the story trailer, it's like what happened if all this didn't happen, and I'm kind of like, yeah, June games typically don't do that well, so we'll see how this goes. But if it is resounding success, then I mean, I love the films, I love the universe.
I was just thinking because you guys were talking about MMO, and that's supposed to be an MMO.
Well, I mean, it's
in this day and age, I can't put that type of time in an MMO anymore. Like I just can't.
Dude,
like RPGs is like my limit.
The thing that's messed up though, you gave a
that's exactly why I dropped Elder Scrolls Online.
You and Deathsinger gave an insane list of games coming out for the rest of 24, and I'm telling you right now, mark my words, 25 is going to be crazier.
Oh, it's gonna be worse. Absolutely,
crazier.
Absolutely, it's gonna be worse.
As soon as I saw Doom, Fable, and then you add on the other games we don't know about.
That Fable gonna be nice.
But then you also add on GTA 6 relaunches, and like
listen, GTA 6 that's real talk.
So there's a
GTA 6 is gonna dominate like the whole that like just pack it up, pack it up, pack it up.
Publishers are gonna just watch out for them. Like,
I would even say Call of Duty needs to get out the way when GTA 6 drops, bro.
The thing is, watch what happens when GTA 6 announces its release date. Let's say it releases in October. You will see games not release a month before. So you better not release after GTA, because if you release a month after GTA,
That Singer. This came out 4 hours ago. The guy's name is Ben. It's Video Tech or something. Anyways, he's got 145,000 followers on X. And he's how does he go by? He says it's your trusted hub for all Rockstar games and absurd adventures and news and gaming, whatever. He says here, The Verge's Tom Warren has heard that Fable is targeting an October-November 2025 release, likely to conflict with GTA 6. Personally, I don't think it's a good idea for any publisher to target a date late 2025.
GTA 6 is talking about a fall release.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
I wanted to actually put a bet on Call of Duty releases before GTA 6, right? We're all agreed on that?
I think they will.
There's no way
I think GTA most likely will release between September, October.
Yeah.
COD could just release November. They'd be fine.
Yeah, they'll be all right. Yeah.
But yeah, like honestly, GTA 6, like that whole second half of the year is going to belong to them.
Yep.
Like straight up.
Yep. 100%.
Not to like take it to a geeky thing again, but you know, Matt Piscatella from Sakana.
Yeah.
This is actually one of the tweets he made recently. Which he was saying the problem isn't the growth per se; it's that saturation. There's just too many games now. There's too many people trying to get a piece of the pie. So it's like, how do you deal with this situation? Because if we as enthusiast gamers alone, like, we can't keep up. Like, I haven't been able to keep up, I feel, for like 2-3 years now. Like last year as well was a massive year, and it sounds like 2025 and 6 is probably going to be even crazier. So it's like, how do publishers navigate this? Because it's almost too much.
Yeah, it's a bit much. It's overwhelming to a certain point. You have to pick the games that you love. Pick the games that you desperately love to play that are coming out, and focus on those. Because I'm a victim. I'm actually talking to myself. I'm not even talking to the audience. I'll get lost in just buying a lot of the games that come out, and then I'll play and I don't finish them, and that bothers me. It really does. I'm focusing on these few games I'm playing now. I want to finish these games. I want to play them throughout the summer. Maybe play one game throughout the summer that's a backlog game, and then get ready for the fall and go right in there. Now, shout out to Joey Bats and a few others. I was able to get a Concord beta. Looking forward to trying that out in July. I'm excited.
Why would you want to play?
Dude, I play shooters. I play shooters all the time, man. I love them. If I can get a good group of people to play some Concord, I'm down.
Fragpunk's going to be better. I'm not a fan of
No. The thing is that Marvel Rivals, I'm willing to play that because it's more like Overwatch. Concord just looks like an amalgamation of Destiny, Valorant, and Overwatch, and I don't think it does any of them better than those.
Well, I don't think we've seen enough yet, that singer. I think we have to hold. That's a hold on that right now. I don't say you're wrong. I say it's just a hold.
Well, I mean, there's a reason why I call
it a whole review based on a trailer.
Yeah,
there's a reason why I call it generic shooter 42, right? Because it just looks like a generic shooter, nothing unique. Personal opinion.
Yeah.
Don't crucify me, Chad.
Be careful, Death Singer.
If you're a Souls fan, I would like to shout out, the demo is on PlayStation. It's called Antoria. And Mooch, they have a consumable called like Magical Pesto.
Yes.
It's an Italian-based
what's the name of this game?
It's called Entoria, Entoria. It dropped at Summer Game Fest. The demo dropped, and I liked it a lot. I played a lot of it.
Well, you said pesto, and I'm starving. So right now I'm going to download the beta immediately.
Go ahead and try it for all the Souls fans out there. I like it a lot.
Well, let me do this, guys. I'm going to let these guys go. I see the chat's going. Some people are like, Mooch, you're still going. It's amazing. Shout out to Gotham Guy. He goes, we've seen enough Concord. Shout out to Gotham Guy. All right, guys, listen, outstanding show. I want to say thanks to this panel. Thanks to this chat. Please, guys, let's hit the likes. Let's get over the 200. I can't see. For some reason, YouTube on my end, I can only see the initials, so I don't see any of the numbers here. So, guys, hit that like button. Let's get that number way over the 200 mark if it's not already. I appreciate every single one of you guys here. Thank you guys for the super chats. It means the world to me. I'll go in reverse order here. We'll make it fast for these guys. And I know Persona's going to be like, Mooch, how did you keep me 3 hours on a Thursday night? Don't you know I got games to play?
I gotta get up 5. No. After this, I'm going to bed. I gotta get up 5 in the morning for the gym.
Yo, I already hear that. Yo, Persona, I'll go with you right now. So, Persona, thank you for being here, man. You know that I love what you and Bari do. I love you guys in the community. You guys preach games. You guys preach positivity. Always talking about and always speaking from the heart. So, Persona, let people know where they can find you. And I know where you're going to be at Saturday morning, but let them know where they can find you, brother. And thanks for being here tonight.
Yes, sir. First off, Mooch, thank you for the invite, man. This was a great conversation, great panel of some cool people, man. Shout out to the panel. Shout out to the chat, man. Make sure you guys hit the like button. Appreciate everybody coming through tonight, and I hope y'all enjoyed the show. For me, I am Persona. You can follow me on Twitter at Persona Speaks. And, like Mooch said, me and Bari, we do a podcast every Saturday at 11 a.m. called What's Up PlayStation Podcast, where we talk about PlayStation or gaming news. It's a strictly gaming podcast, not any of the other things. We're really focused on gaming. And, man, so, appreciate you guys, and I hope you guys have a great night.
Appreciate you being here, Persona. Thank you very much. the great Kofi, everybody. Kofi, thank you for being here as well, buddy. I know that our schedules don't always meet up, but listen, I always say this. Whenever you're available, please shoot me a DM over on X and let me know what's up, because love having you on, love talking games with you. But Kofi, let everyone know they can find you and your new podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for having me on. I do have some somewhat bittersweet news. For the next 8 weeks, I'm pretty sure I'm blocked off for Thursdays. So I won't be back on the Thursday night show for a while, at least this early summer. But if you ever do a reaction to anything, maybe in early August, maybe PlayStation will say something, and it's not Thursday, Wednesday, Friday, I will try to be there. And if there's any other exceptions, I definitely will DM you.
Okay.
But yes, typically, I have a Monday podcast that I am bringing back up with my best friend, who is a huge Xbox fan. Sometimes we yell at each other till we're blue in the face, but typically we're civil. It's called the Vitamin G Podcast. It's Mondays Eastern at 9 p.m. And you can come there. We also have somebody who usually plays on Switch, somebody who usually plays on PC, and it's a beautiful crossroads of people who prefer all different platforms. So we're having a good time over there. And as usual, I'm importing games. The next will be in July, a game called Reinatis, which is going to be, I think, a very underrated gem, but I'll be tweeting about that on Twitter. Creative_Kofi is where you can find me. So I'm looking forward to it, guys. Great
Appreciate that, Kofi. Thank you. Your boy Roy, outstanding work tonight. As always, you're becoming a professional quicker than I could ever imagine. Roy, great to have you here on the show as always. Thanks always for your support on the channel. And I hope to see you this Saturday and Sunday on twitch.tv, Mooch TV, of course, a little bit of a plug there for the channel over there. But Roy, let people know where they can find you. And thanks for being here tonight.
Oh, I'll definitely try to catch the streams. Always a pleasure to be on the show. I stream on Rumble. I haven't streamed too much since I beat Stellar Blade, but this summer NCAA is coming back out, and we got a huge online dynasty coming out. So I will be streaming a lot of the new NCAA football game, and who knows when I'll be back on. I like being on during showcase season, so look for me around December. That's for sure. Maybe before that, but you can expect to hear from me in December.
Well, I appreciate it, Roy. Thanks for being here tonight. Looking forward to seeing you in the chat. You're always giving me shit. When's that Capital City coming up? Well, it's coming up real soon. That's what it's coming up. But I appreciate it, Roy. Thank you. The great Death Singer, as you guys know. Singer, honestly, love having you on the show, man. You really bring a great dynamic here. You play on PC, but you know what's going on in the console space. Shout out to the great Ashton Luca, by the way, also. Scumcast, 7 p.m. Eastern on Saturday nights. But Singer, love having you on the show, buddy. Let people know where they can find you. I already did a quick plug there for Luca, but nonetheless, looking forward to your next appearance on Crossfire.
Oh, yeah, I always love it here, and I've noticed a trend. Every time I come on now, I have a fellow Brit on the show. First it was WoolleyGamer, now it's Nib. I am loving the representation of the British people.
Let's go. It may be a small island, but coming with a force.
Let's go. But yeah, it's a pleasure always chatting with Persona, Kofi, and the rest of the panel. Shout out to Jay Barry fighting. I saw him all show fighting the great fight in the chat. People were attacking him, proclaiming PlayStation third party. It is what it is. Get over it. And you can find me at Saturdays, 7 p.m. Eastern, on the Asher Lucas channel with Scumcast with the fantastic Slow-Mo and Forte. And you can find us chopping over there on the various topics. And as a final farewell, shout out to PlayStation actually giving Aloy a personality. It's so sweet to see. I almost shed a tear.
Singer, great to have you on, buddy. I'll be in touch with you next week. You already know. Great to have you with us. And the great Nib as well. Nib, honestly, look at I literally, it's like shooting a flare. Okay, I shot a flare up there, and I said, "There's probably about a 20% chance he sees this." But Nib, when you always say, "Yo, I can make it, mate," I said, "This is a fantastic week." Nib, I love what you do on X. Honestly, you're always welcome here. I wish you even had more time, but I know the restaurant business, and I know how busy you are. So, Nib, you've always got an open invitation. Let me know when you can make it back, but let people know where they can find you on X. And we look forward to your next appearance on Crossfire, buddy.
Yeah, thank you to the panel. It's been wicked. I think I've only spoken with Death Singer and Persona in Spaces before, so it's cool to have it on like a more sort of officialized podcast or whatever. But But yeah, it's been a great conversation. I really do enjoy it on here. Like I don't really do podcasts or anything. I'm starting to think maybe I should have one now because everyone here has something going on. But no, it's just me on Twitter. That's it. NIB95_. That's it. But yeah, I will be back on here at some point, definitely.
Always appreciate.
But yeah, I feel bad because I said no to BRAP. You know, he asked me to come on, and I was like, oh, you know, I'm going to be on Crossfire tomorrow.
You're like, I can't do 2 nights of podcast.
So I was like, we might have even a convergence of topics or something. I don't know, but maybe not. I do want to go on his as well eventually. But yeah, wicked podcast as always. Really good guest today as well, and really good conversation.
Outstanding conversation. Tonight's a prime, just for you guys in the chat that are listening or listening later. This is a prime example of why I love the podcast. This is a phenomenal night. This was a great panel, great conversation. I do want to give a couple plugs to the guys that had to leave. Shout out to BRAP. As Nib was just saying, he's got BRAP podcast Wednesday nights 9 p.m. Eastern. That's at BRAP_podcast. Go over and check him out. Detective Seeds had to leave a little bit early, but shout out to Seeds. He's a regular here. That's at Detective Seeds, and it's Detective Seeds over on YouTube. Go over and follow him. A shout out to the great Gaming Forte. Forte couldn't make it, but you guys know he does DPS along with the great Slow Mo Backslap. They are live right now. Go over there. Check out that podcast. Tell him Mooch sent you. Outstanding. Shout out to Slow Mo and Forte. Want to give a shout out also to the great Eric Jackson. You guys know him as the voice of reason. That's at ECJAXSON. Eric Jackson. Just a dear friend in the community and just an outstanding gamer. And I love it when he's on the show. Guys, that being said, we'll be back next Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday on our route to the DLC for Elden Tree. Go over at twitch.tv, Mooch TV. Same as here. Drop the O's for zeros. M00CHTV. Guys, we'll see you next Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Good night. Go play some games. And don't forget, The Boys launches today on Amazon. So if you have Amazon, go check out Season 4. That's what we're doing this weekend. Peace out, and good night, everybody.
Laters, everyone. Is Persona still here, by the way?
Yeah, I'm here.
Dude, you know earlier on